TFNB, your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
We appreciate your time as another week of spring games over and still more to come. And the NFL draft is later on this week. Good afternoon. 365 Sports is the channel on YouTube, and this show, the SMOAK Show. Craig Smoke, and I'm David Smoke. We do appreciate your time. Rez Garrett running the mothership. Andrew's out today, but has set up the final segment with all of what we do at the end already at this particular time. Welcome to Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating and Plumbing. They are the newest sponsor of 365 Sports, of this show, the SMOAK Show. We appreciate Ronnie Kroll and what he does as a new sponsor for us going forward. So all the spring games, a lot going on. There was almost a near disaster at Virginia Tech, and we'll get to that too. Our guests today have John Kurtz, John Kurtz, Roger Wallace, and Dion Imati. So here is the last play of the Texas Tech spring game up in Lubbock with the quarterback in Brendan Sorsby and a young man that, boy, if he does play like he was supposed to, it's been a couple of years, in Micah Hudson. This is how the spring game ended. Player that, Craig, as we know, he's been on a tremendous topsy-turvy journey, highly rated 5-star receiver out of Lake Belton High School, and maybe his feet are on the ground, and now a full off season for the Red Raiders if that works out.
Maybe. I mean, I hope for his sake that it is, because we've been waiting a while, and you wonder when it's been as up and down as it's been for Micah Hudson. But there's been a lot of talk about him this offseason, and all of it's been positive. And what's up, everybody out there? What's up, chat? Good to be back with you for one more week, and good to have the NFL draft here so we can start to actually see the picks and not have to talk about them so much, although that's part of the fun as well. But the spring games all over the country this past week, there are a few interesting notes coming out of them for Tech. I mean, Brendan Sorsby had a pretty prolific day, a bunch of touchdown passes. Micah Hudson getting involved there, as you mentioned, and he's a great story. I now at this point, I'm just waiting to see how it pans out in the regular season, right? I mean, everything else sounds really good. Everything else seems really positive, but now it's just him putting it together and doing it in the real deal. So everything's tracking well there. I think everything's looking great as far as Brendan Sorsby goes, and it's really weird. Like, Baron Morton got so much S, and I provided some of it. Like, I remember getting into it with one of our very loyal listeners, not getting into it, but disagreeing on like my critique of Baron Morton. But I feel like that played out kind of how I said it did. Would you agree with that? I mean, as far as him being a good, not great player, and that's really all I ever said. It was just that I didn't think he was a guy that was going to put them over the top. I didn't think he was a guy that was going to lead them to the promised land. And if they had a weakness, I felt like, yeah, you probably come back around to where they could have had a more elite quarterback. And that's all my point really was. And what has this offseason shown? That's exactly how they went about addressing it. But Baron Morton was good. Don't get me wrong. He was a good, solid player. So he leaves, especially with his love for Texas Tech, some shoes to fill. But Brendan Sorsby feels like he's gone in there and just acclimated right away, and he's given them a boost of confidence and just some star power at the quarterback spot that I think is going to be really interesting to watch this year.
I do too. And Brendan Sorsby, everything, again, spring games, scrimmages, whatever they're called, you can get some out of it. We've covered our mini, and you come out of it going, oh, and then the guy never – it's like NFL preseason and workouts in July and August that there's so many players that like look the part, but then they're not even on the roster when they start the season by the start of September.
We're doing that with the NFL draft right now.
Yep.
We're talking a bunch about guys who some of them are going to pan out and be incredible. Fernando Mendoza, possibly that guy. You sure hope so, being pretty much the unanimous number 1 overall pick, and Sonny Styles and Jordan Tyson, all these guys we talked about. But there's inevitably going to be some guys who don't pan out and don't work out. But, I think the hype is real for Texas Tech. Spring game went well from all indications. I mean, it's one of those events now that I feel like because it's not quite what it was a few years ago, you get your work in and you just hope on the other side of it everybody's healthy and you're in good shape. And I feel like that's certainly the case out in Lubbock, and they've definitely upgraded, I think, to some degree at quarterback. And we'll see how that works out in the regular season.
All right, so that's that with Texas Tech and Brendan Sorsby to Micah Hudson. Eric Morris, the head coach at Oklahoma State, his first year, he was at North Texas. He's been at Washington State. He's been at Incarnate Word. We know his story and development of quarterbacks in many ways. But Eric Morris, they had their spring game over the weekend, and he has basically said that shirtless section that became kind of a thing last year when they were so bad, he wants to end it. He wants to end it. And one of our viewers on 365 Sports, Wet Blanket, also with a note there, he is discussing it, that, hey, we got to stop this loser attitude. Morris just says that's what you did when you lose, like the bag over your head if you're a fan for a bad team in the pros. He wants to get rid of it. We're going to win, basically. Wet Blanket then said get rid of it too. Some fans don't want to. Some fans say, why can't we have it if we win? And some saying, what's Eric Morris worrying? He hadn't even won a game yet. But that's turned out to be quite the story in Stillwater over the weekend.
It's something that makes tons of sense coming from him. That you don't want like the Cleveland Indian fans back in the day that if you watched Major League, they were booing the team and they were kind of like part of just, I guess, embracing how bad everything was, trying to make the best out of a bad situation. So we could put paper bags on our heads or yell, you suck or whatever, and kind of like reverse psychology this thing or just try to make the best of it that we can. But now there's a new sheriff in town and now there's a new attitude. And I could see where you don't want to kind of have this remnant or this relic from when times weren't that good, which is what he was saying basically, is we're going to win a lot of football games. And so let's do something that is not going to be maybe so easily made fun of or make us look kind of silly. I think he's also somewhat missing the point, or maybe he's not. And he just doesn't care about the point of there's people who are just having fun. Like that's also just kind of what that was as well. It was like, again, how do we make the best out of a bad situation? This team sucks. They're not going to beat anybody, but we're here. Let's take our shirts off and dance and at least have fun. And they went viral for it. And there was a bunch of other bad teams that eventually followed suit. Baylor was one of them that took a cue, and they had their own versions of what Oklahoma State did at one point. So it was a fun idea, but I could see Eric Morris, new blood, new team, wanted to come in there and just kind of change things. But it's not that serious either way. If the fans want to keep doing it, by all means. But I don't think it's like the tortillas. Like let's bog down in this and make this like an issue we disagree over. Like, hey, let's just let the new guy do his thing and we'll win games and kind of just be normal. And look, if he doesn't win games, and we'll bring it back and we'll take our shirts back off and we'll start booing your team, pal. So go win games, and that you can ensure that way that we don't do this any longer. Yeah,
that is in my opinion, as Eric Morris said, that is in my opinion. I would like to push it out at some point because he goes, listen, we're going to win. I looked up there, a bunch of grown men with their shirts off got me distracted at one point. That's what Eric Morris said following the spring game. And of course, he's the guy in charge. He's the one. Now, fans can do what they want to do, but I like the fact that he's trying to maybe move past that.
And I don't think that the people who are taking that as criticism are taking it the right way. I think if you're taking that as him not liking these guys or being negative towards them or calling them whatever, I don't think that's what he intended. I think he just finds it to be a little bit distracting and something that is reminiscent of a really, really bad year. So let's not do that. But again, that's up to him. So if he goes and wins enough games, then I think we'll forget about this pretty quickly. But if he doesn't, then don't be surprised if these guys start to take their shirts back off and do the same thing. So again, that's in Eric Morse's hand more than anybody else.
Wet blanket, as I mentioned, one of the comments he made, enough of the loser-ass activities. This fan base, man, it's not blanking data centers. It's no T-shirts, always complaining about the dumbest stuff. And then, as I said, one of the comments, why can't we win and keep this? This is part of the healing process.
I think if you were to start winning right away and that was coinciding with it, I think he'd probably roll with it. But a new guy just trying to put his fingerprints on something. So, I don't know. I think the fans pushing back might make it a bigger deal than it really needs to be. But I understand we're just having fun here. So what's the big deal? But it's a new guy. He wants to do things his way and hopes the fans will follow. So I don't think this is the line in the sand to draw for the new coach and the new fans to start arguing over this. Let's wait until he makes some bad offensive play calls or something along those lines to get into it. But this is just kind of an interesting little unforeseen back and forth or disagreement in how to have fun at games. And so we'll see how that section responds. But if you win, I think that will solve everybody's problems.
And Houston wrapped it up. There's other teams that wrapped it up. There's a bunch that did. We're not going to go over all of them, but touch on some of the stories. Kashawn Henderson, the freshman from the Houston area, he was practicing throughout the spring. And a quote from Willie Fritz is basically, you can take huge steps, mid-year type enrollees, especially a freshman in high school who should still be in high school based on just his, spring semester. There's not a more perfect situation for his development. Totally handled things well, looks the part, throws the ball well, and of course, still very much wet behind the ears and the future of Houston football after Connor Wigman.
Well, I want to go back to Oklahoma State for a second. Drew Mestemaker was great. No surprise there in the spring game and had a big day. And so that was also a part of what was happening in Stillwater was that. And I should have mentioned that in answering the first time. But, that was good to see for the Oklahoma State fans, some offense with some life and breath in it. And then for Houston and Kashawn Henderson, the sky's the limit for him. Really talented player who thankfully they don't have to rely on right away. They've got Connor Wigman there for the time being, and he's his own great story in his own right that deserves the attention and the focus. But it's hard not to look at the really athletic, really highly rated, super talented guy that's waiting in the wings. So perfect situation for Willie Fritz to have his cake and eat it too. You've got the guy of the present who's still not tapped out all his potential, but was really good for you last year and stands to make another big stride this year. And then you've got a guy who's just marinating that is ready for his turn and is unique in his own way. So I like what is set up right now in that Houston quarterback room. And I hope that Kashawn Henderson gets the chance to really just sort of sit back and not get thrown to the wolves because of an injury or something like that.
Brent Key has done, Craig, as you know, a tremendous job at Georgia Tech. He's one of my favorite coaches. He reminds me of Vanderbilt. I always end up getting those two names confused. The head coach at Vanderbilt, the way they play, tough as hell. Here's what he said, and then you respond to it. After the spring game was over and how thrilled he is that he doesn't have to worry about something like losing all the players he just showcased in his game.
I get to have player exit meetings post-spring on Monday and meet with every kid on the team and not have to worry about their asses going somewhere else. It was Malik Omar and Eric came out on the field. Like, how you doing, coach? We're talking about the team and everything. They said, well, how are you doing, coach? I said, man, I'm great because I ain't got to worry about guys like y'all trying to go somewhere on Monday. But it is. It's a different feel, a totally different feel, where you might look at, hey, it'd be nice to be able to go get one position to add or one player to add to a position. I'd a lot rather know that the team is secured, right, and this is our team, than trying to find one little piece to add incremental improvement in the football team.
Again, that's Brent Key from Georgia Tech, Clark Lee, Vanderbilt, who I was referring to earlier. And, man, that does have to be a breath of fresh air as they wrap up these spring football games and also the workouts right now.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why that's they both wear gold, I guess, but other than that, I don't know why that's such a problem for you to get the Clark Lee and the Brett Keith.
I don't know either, but go ahead and highlight that. I can't get those two separated.
They wear gold. That's about the only thing that's
similar. They both wear gold. They're both tough-minded. They play a physical style, and I do get them. I do remember Brent Key more than Clark Lee, but back to the point of what he has to say.
Yeah, it's Alberto Mendoza seems to be the guy based on the reporting coming out of that game. Fernando's brother, who was at Indiana and left when he left, seems like he's going to be QB1 as it stands right now. So good to get that sort of figured out as they turn the page from Haynes King. And to his point, I think, I bet it's incredibly nice to not have to wake up and worry about your workers or your athletes or whatever it is that you're in charge of being able to get tampered with and bolted at a moment's notice while you're trying to plan for the next year. It's really hard to plan for the future when you don't know what like tomorrow brings, right? So it's not a fun place to be in. And when you have the ability to not have to worry and look over your shoulder or wonder every time your player's walking through the hallway with his phone on, like, oh, is that a coach from somebody else texting him or something like that? Then that's got to be a situation that really allows you to sleep much better at night. And so I think that's probably the case for every coach out there. Now, it doesn't completely prohibit it because we're not out of the blue yet. There could very well be a case like last year where there's a couple guys unenrolling to then find their way somewhere else, like we had with the Wisconsin-Miami situation. But it's been relatively quiet. Hopefully it stays that way. And this is what it should be like. We shouldn't have, if you want to do the messy thing and we want to be messy, then let's make it as messy as possible. And let's have the transfer portal opened up 24/7, 365. And it's just chaos, chaos, chaos. And people can eat that up. But as somebody who enjoys a little sprinkling of chaos, I feel like there's more than enough of it naturally in the ecosystem already. We don't need to create even more that I don't think really benefits the game. It benefits the players to just leave whenever they want to, but I think it screws up the rest of the whole assembly line. So to have a coach be able to know who's on his team after coaching them throughout the entirety of spring ball is just common sense. So I'm glad he's glad. I'm glad most other coaches are glad. Hopefully the players are fine with it as well. And let's move on with the teams that we know of after spring ball rather than, hey, we just did this for a few weeks. Now everybody go to a new school and start all over again. That was just insanity.
Yeah, that making sense is not sometimes used very well when it comes to how the NCAA and the sport of college athletics is run and or, everything in many ways. All right, so at Virginia Tech, could have been a horrible situation. Pasha Palanker, he is a retired U.S. Army Special Ops Master Sergeant who served in Iraq. Counter IED operations. He was in a parachute group as they flew into the Virginia Tech spring game. And here is what happened to him. It was a very windy day and in Blacksburg. And here, I think we have video of this, right, of him flying into the spring game at Virginia Tech. That was not planned. He was trying to get past the scoreboard because he was losing control based on the wind, did everything he could, and he just couldn't get over the scoreboard to land on the practice field. He said that everything worked out well. The first responders were great. That was a scary situation, and he's okay. Pasha Palanker, again, retired U.S. Army Special Ops Master Sergeant, served in Iraq, counter IED operations, survived numerous blast injuries while he was there, and thank goodness he survived that.
That would have been an awful tragedy, and glad that he's okay. Thank you for your service with that resume that you just read off there. But, that could have been a lot worse, and instead it's just kind of embarrassing and something funny to joke about moving forward in life as opposed to this completely god-awful tragedy that could have taken place had he slammed into that thing a different way or whatever could have happened. But not sure what went wrong there for a guy so experienced. I guess maybe just the wind had its own ideas. I don't know what the threshold is and won't pretend to be any kind of Twitter expert or be like somebody on Reddit who like tells you all the wrong information, but acts really expert when they do so. So I won't do that. But yeah, you think there's a threshold where maybe it's too windy to jump. I don't know. I guess they weren't there, or he felt he could handle it. But either way, yeah, that did not go according to plan. And Virginia Tech fans, other than just being relieved, are just hopeful that's not a sign of things to come. This wasn't a harbinger of the James Franklin era, and what you're in store for, I think, is what you're hoping most if you're a Virginia Tech fan.
By the way, one of the story, I have to mention this, and a lot of you that watch us, some of you have served our country. He was awarded 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star Medal for valor for confronting a suicide bomber when he was overseas fighting for our country.
Well, that was the big highlight of Virginia Tech's spring game. I didn't see a whole lot else coming out of it that was super notable, but there was a bunch of games, so I'm still kind of combing through various recaps and whatnot. I got to watch a good amount of video over the weekend, and got to see some things like Drew Mestamaker and Brennan Sorsby, and just the write-ups or recaps or whatever on a lot of that stuff, but did not see or have not probably dug deep enough into Virginia Tech to kind of know the notables. This was what was all over. If you Googled Virginia Tech, this was like the headline of that, unfortunately. But I'm excited for James Franklin. I'm excited for Virginia Tech mattering again. They really have not mattered in the way they mattered when I was younger. And this isn't nostalgia so much as it's just cool when Virginia Tech's playing on a Thursday night and Metallica's ripping through and they're the game on, and they're setting up as an appetizer the rest of the weekend almost with some really fun ACC matchup or non-con or whatever. So, I know it's been a really long time since they were at their peak, but it's a very proud program, and I'm excited to see what a really good coach in James Franklin can do with the Hokies.
Then there's this story that started simmering and then got to a level on Friday and then over the weekend. Bryant Haynes is the defensive coordinator at Indiana. They played Alabama, remember, in the playoff after Alabama had come back to beat Oklahoma and pummeled them in the Rose Bowl 38-3. Here is Haynes. Here is Ty Simpson, on a podcast discussing what he thought he saw and what he did see, but it didn't work out this way before they played Indiana in the college football playoff.
Surprising what they did, or were they as like good of a team as advertised? I mean, they won, so.
I wasn't surprised when they won. After they beat us, we lost to both teams that were in the Natty, so I thought they were going to win that game against Miami. I didn't know how it was going to go against y'all.
From my point of view, right, like, I was like, they don't do much.
Oh, no.
Like, I was like, they do the same thing for every down. And so when I got the ball, I knew exactly what was going to happen. They just didn't mess up, bro. They were in the exact same spot they were supposed to be, and they were so well coached. It was so much different than the SEC. SEC, you got, they'll play man, they'll do these unorthodox coverages, because it's just like kind of how it is. That game was crazy to me. Of course, I got hurt, so that was a bummer. But I knew what they were going to do, and we couldn't really run the ball. We didn't really, throw. It just was it was so crazy to me how it happened.
Well, Indiana crushed them 38-3. Haynes, with that audio, and then Craig, we'll keep going on this because he kind of fires back. Adorable. We also saw everything they were doing on every snap. This is from the defensive coordinator at Indiana on what you just heard. It's just that we exploited those cues and didn't get frozen and crushed by them. He then went on to say a little bit more, but this has become kind of a little back and forth between Alabama and Indiana. He said he's going to start doing a weekly feature of cat fights or whatever he called it on Twitter of who fires off a salvo or two or back and forth and who wins in the end.
Yeah, I mean, there's an idea. There's certainly been a lot of sort of rivalries developing this offseason, whether it's Dabo and Pete Golding or it's just the coaches kind of going back and forth. Sonny Dykes and Kurt Cignetti, that little back and forth there. And there's been other things like that as well. Will Muschamp on other schools whose players don't go to actual class. And what else? I mean, those are like a little sampling that have occurred in the last few weeks. And then you've got Bryant Haynes now versus Ty Simpson, or Indiana versus Alabama. I think as good of an exercise, although this won't be as polarizing and won't be as controversial, is to ask, what did Bryant Haynes hear because all I heard was Ty Simpson going, they were so damn good that like it was like I can't even.
Well, he initially, I think you can always take it was.
Of course,
they didn't do anything, and of course that makes it sound like they didn't do anything that created disruption when they absolutely created havoc.
Yeah, he read a headline and took offense to it because he took it as though Ty Simpson said they were like just not doing anything, and somehow I guess he thinks that Ty Simpson thinks that they were lucky in what they did, or I don't know, because I initially saw that headline and I was like, ooh, this is interesting, and then I actually heard Ty Simpson's comments and I go, well, that wasn't negative at all. That was like really super complimentary. And I think there you can hear the frustration in his voice of like, the frustration is they didn't do anything fancy. They weren't doing exotic blitzes and they weren't like confusing everybody with these crazy shifts in the defense. They just lined up and were so good. This is what he's saying, Brian Haynes. He's saying you were so well coached and so talented.
Yeah, the first line may have sent him for not even listening to the last 2 or 3.
I guess so, but he's saying y'all were so good and so well coached and so talented that you didn't need to do any of that, and it was enough. Like that's what he was saying, was that it was frustrating because y'all weren't doing anything fancy that normally would give them problems. It was just you were so absolutely great at what you just did, basically, that it was enough. It was enough to flummox Alabama and to beat their ass. I mean, because that's what Indiana did. So as much fun as I got when I saw the headline, and I certainly understand if you read part of that, why you would just knee-jerk react to it. I have to wonder if Brian Haynes didn't turn around and somebody said, hey, did you actually watch the video? And then he watches it and goes, oh. But then again, there's a whole cottage industry basically now where just bashing on Bama can like give you thousands of views and be a whole career in so many ways for some podcasters. So, yeah, I mean, I can see where Bama feels it like that. Or it's fun to bash Bama, and so people seeing Bama get bashed, and they don't care what Ty Simpson said. They're like, yeah, man, bash away, screw Bama. But at the same time, like I'm also somebody that no matter what colors or logo you're wearing, I want to make sure that you're at least getting bashed for good reason. And I don't feel like Ty Simpson really said anything that was out of pocket. I feel like he was more than anything being very complimentary, and you can hear like the frustration in that. He wishes it was some crazy thing that was happening, but it was just, they were just so damn fundamentally good, which is, I don't know, what people said throughout the season was that they were just so well coached and the guys were so good at doing their jobs because they had been doing it for a while in some cases, which is where then you get into the whole conversation about Indiana's old roster and all that. But no, they were just so well coached and they knew their job so well that it's like an unbeatable combination. And they didn't need to do anything fancy. So it was actually a compliment, I feel like, more than a disrespect thing.
It was. Here's also then, because Alabama fans just lost their minds on this because they felt like he was being a little bit over the top. Maybe he was even being kind of soft in what he was saying. Brian Haynes by no means has ever been known as being soft. That's all it took to break your entire fan base. Wow, maybe I should have just said boo. No apologies, no compliments. Grow up, folks. He had a bad take, and I said the painful truth. Bounce back and be better.
Okay, dude. Like, I mean, all right. I think that guy's needed to put down Twitter. I mean, great coach. I think then to start sitting there and trying to dunk. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, coaches troll now too. I'm just not in the trolling game, so I'm not on there trying to just like get people up in a roar. Or in an uproar, I should say. I think this is fun. Like, don't get me wrong, this is funny. But I think Brian Haynes took it way too serious. But don't let a good opportunity to bash Bama go without taking advantage of it. So he definitely did that there. I don't think he heard that correctly or that he heard the entire thing because they were so well coached is literally what Ty Simpson says. So it was, again, a compliment, not a disrespect thing, but hey, don't let that ruin a good back and forth.
It was the way he said it early, and then he pivoted. Not because he felt like he said anything that was negative. He pivoted and said, listen, there was a play in that game, and I think it was when the game was still pretty close because it didn't end up that way. It was a 4th and 1. Alabama had the football. Simpson came walking up the last second as the clock is running down, the play clock, and got under center and tried to maybe draw Indiana offsides, and they didn't blink. No one flinched. They called timeout, came back on the field. Alabama tried to run it again with, there wasn't a shovel pass, but kind of a little bit of a counter the opposite way, and they lost yardage. Indiana's defense was just unbelievable, and usually until maybe towards the end of the year, we're getting overlooked because of Mendoza and what they do on offense.
You know who thought Indiana's defense was really good?
I thought they were good from the beginning. I'm saying that most people maybe didn't.
No, you didn't hear me. I said, do you know who thought Indiana's defense was really good?
Ty Simpson.
Ty Simpson. Yeah. Ty Simpson just said it. So Brian Haynes, like, hey, man, do your thing, pal. I know Indiana fans love it. Again, a lot of people love seeing Bama down and getting bashed. And so I'm not opposed to that, but I do think this was very much an overreaction on his part. And the whole talking down, like the adorable stuff, like that's just so social media, middle-aged man these days.
There is still a little bit of maybe they don't need to feel this way anymore, that perhaps they still don't get credit. Yes, you do, man. You kicked everybody's ass and went 16-0.
Yeah,
so there may be still some of that.
Not a big deal in the long run. I just think that it was a compliment mostly, but it was funny to see that interaction. And hey, hopefully Indiana and Alabama run into each other. Although Ty Simpson won't be involved again. Hey, I wouldn't mind to see that ran back. I know Alabama would love to try to get some of that taste out of their mouth, and Indiana would love nothing more than keep dunking on teams like Alabama.
One note, this is not a part, Rez, to put up on the screen. Jake Butt, the tight end, he's in the Big Ten Network, played at Michigan. I'll add this. Saying we knew what IU defense was doing every play. They took that one part. When talking about one of the best defensive minds in college football, and Brian Haynes, is absolutely disrespectful. Ed Haynes is a total competitor. Don't like it, maybe score more, or maybe don't play the schematics when we all witnessed the entire IU staff continually having a schematic advantage all season long. That's from Jake Butt, Big Ten Network.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. It doesn't change my opinion on it being a bit of an overreaction to what was actually a compliment. But yeah, if you want to really drill down, and you did, in fact, maybe read it all the way through Brian Haynes, then yeah, you can look. It's college football, so there's far less severe things that have been said that have been taken much more seriously. I mean, these guys literally wake up creating disrespect in their brains. They manufacture it. 13-0 national championship head coaches create absolute BS lines of criticism. Nobody believes in the dogs. Like, I mean, we see through it. We know what they're doing. I don't think it's intentional on Brian Haynes' part. I think he was just reacting to what he saw. So this isn't totally manufactured, but I do think it was more of a compliment than it wasn't. But either way, it's fun to see some back and forth and just kind of a little barking at one another. And who knew that Indiana, Alabama would be the new rivalry of the future? But here we are.
Yeah, that's what it does. Boise State, Spencer Danielson's done a really good job there. 5 years, $11.5 million contract for the Boise State football coach. He's extended through 2030. And Boise State, last year they weren't a part. They kind of were, but they kind of fell out of that. Are they going to be the group of 5 or 6 now? Team that got in, they were not. They're still very good. He does a hell of a job. He's getting paid for it. Craig, your thoughts about Spencer Danielson?
He's done a good job. I mean, the new pack and all that's going to be interesting to see just what that sort of looks like in practice after talking about it for a couple years. I like the geography for the most part. Boise State definitely set up as well as anybody to take advantage of this new league and be one of the powers of it. I just don't know what being the power of it means in the big picture, but if you want to be as good as you can, then it's good to have your people lined up and locked away. And Spencer Danielson's done a good job. I mean, the playoffs a couple years ago behind the talents of Ashton Genty and a bit of a step back last year to be expected. But I mean, he's done a good job there. Jeremiah Dickey's locking down his people, and it seems like Boise is getting revved up for this new era and don't quite know what it means on the other side, and don't think it's quite what they hoped for when they dreamed of joining the Pac-12. I think they dreamed of joining the version that had USC and Utah and Arizona and everybody still in it, but you'll take this versus remaining where you were. So, we'll see what Spencer Danielson and the Broncos can do. And I think just smart, to lock down your people when you know they're the people that you want around.
They open at Oregon, and then they play Memphis, which, we know Memphis can bring to the table too. So that's the open couple of weeks for them this upcoming season. John Kurtz on Kansas State football. He'll be next with us. But one more note. This is one I even asked our resident LSU fan and analyst, Garrett Ross. Garrett Nussmeier was not very good last year, considering, again, he was one of the names that thought that could be a first-round pick with the first quarterback taken. We know that that's Mendoza on Thursday night.
He was banged up too.
Here's one of the reasons why. He underwent tests at the NFL Combine. If they see a scratch in your pinky, they're going to look into it. And they know about you from 10 years ago that you may not remember, revealed a cyst on his spine, the root cause of the persistent oblique pain that derailed his 2025 season. The cyst was pressing on a nerve, causing discomfort. It's asymptomatic at this particular time, so he does not need to have a procedure or surgery. He could at some point have a minimally invasive procedure, would mean he'd be out for 2 or 3 weeks during the recovery. But this is something that was discovered, and I don't know if it's going to mean he's picked 5 picks sooner or what, but they did find that. And the first thing I asked is, why didn't LSU know this? I don't have enough information, but you would think, would they have done an MRI to maybe look at what was going on with it?
Well, it's definitely not anything that's going to get him into like the top 5 or the first round.
No. I said it could be in the second, third, or fourth round. But maybe someone who was like, it might knock him down even more, but there is at least an understanding of what he was experiencing with his back. Yeah,
it's good to have clarity, but I don't think it necessarily drastically changes things. I think everybody knew that he was hurt last year. So that's the thing. Maybe you have clarity on what the exact injury was, but it was clear that he was hurt. It was just maybe not what you assumed it to be at the beginning, and I think this makes you maybe feel a little bit better about what you did see last year, and maybe some of those struggles make a lot more sense now, because he was one of the more disappointing players in the entire country. They were one of the more disappointing teams, and obviously it led to a changeover with Lane Kiffin now taking over. I think, Garrett Nussmeier was a guy I had a lot of high hopes for, and he was just a non-factor last year. So anytime you're talking about spine and cysts and things like that, it's very scary. So it's great that doesn't seem like it's actually that big of a deal despite the terminology. You're saying minimally invasive surgery if they go that route at some point, and missing a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. That's nothing, man. So especially for something that you're saying, cysts and spines and all that. That's interesting. I don't know as far as LSU. I don't know what he was complaining about in the training room. Was he complaining about his spine hurting, or was he saying
oblique? It was mainly
my oblique or whatever else that he was also dealing with. So maybe it just wasn't something they could focus in on and determine, or I don't know. I don't want to speculate on how the medical people decided to treat him, but glad it's been figured out now, and glad that it's something that's hopefully going to clear up for him and allow his life and his playing career to be a lot better than it was just a year ago, when he was obviously in tremendous amount of pain and it was affecting his play.
We will have John Kurtz in a moment on K-State and spring football. Again, Dion Imati, Oklahoma State sideline analyst, will join us today at 5 and look back at what we talked about with one of the teams we highlighted with Mestamaker and company. And then also Roger Wallace, UT football color analyst, will join us at 4:25 as they wrapped up their spring too. Anything else to wrap up from the spring, Craig? We got plenty of time on the other end of a couple other segments to do that, but anything else you want to do to close this opening segment?
No, I think we touched a lot of ground. Let's get to John Kurtz and talk to him about K-State. I guess there's a couple of other things from spring ball out there, but I feel like we kind of checked most of the boxes.
A&M had a linebacker that had a really gruesome injury in that game, and they're going to be out for probably the rest of the year. Yeah, there has not been a ton of injury news coming out of spring, thankfully, but A&M was bit by that, and you randomly bring that up, and his name's escaping me now. But I was Sanford, I think it's.
Yeah, I was reading about that last night. So that's unfortunate. That's exactly what you're hoping to get all the way through spring without, but to get all the way to the last practice is just absolutely brutal. That just sucks, man. So best wishes to the Aggies on that front. But yeah, outside of that, I think it's spring ball. It's something that if you want to really dive deep into it, you can. But we hit on a lot of the Mendoza at Georgia Tech and Sorsby's big debut at Tech and those types of things. Those were kind of the big takeaways I had as well.
All right, here we go. John Kurtz covers K-State. He is next. And then also we will have all sorts of coverage throughout the rest of this week. Got some great guests lined up, including, by the way, former Indiana quarterback Babe Laufenberg on the draft on Mendoza and how his time as the highest selected quarterback in Indiana history is on the clock.
It's over.
It is on the clock. Time is still ticking. You never know. And much more to get to. We do appreciate your time. Thanks again to our new sponsor, Ray Broker, Air Conditioning and Heating. And thanks to you, too. This is The Smoke Show on 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. I was there today to go visit Mary. Mary. I was there to visit, and she's retiring. Had been with Dr. Kent Petty for a long, long time. She's a sweet woman. She's retiring, and she is done. And there was stuff all over the office. I mean, all sorts of enjoy retirement. She's been fantastic. Dr. Petty and his staff, of course, they do a lot, including if you're a man and you have not felt quite the same of late. Your energy's down. Your sex drive's down. Maybe it's up, but nothing else is. Dr. Kent Petty can find out if it is your low testosterone level. If your T level's too low, that can create a lot of problems. Dr. Petty, contact him, pettycliniclowt.com. He will set you up to get your blood work, take care of that appointment, get the results, get back in touch with you. And if you need a boost with your T level, your testosterone level, he can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Broker is your Lennox premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
We're celebrating the Declaration of Deals at Allen Samuels in Waco. Right now, get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. Cash in on $11,000 off a new Ram 2500 Lone Star Crew Cab, or choose 0% for 36 months, plus no payments for 90 days. Feel secure with America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Extreme Texas weather calls for Ray Broker, your Lennox premier dealer. Sign up for our year-round comfort plan and keep your home the perfect temperature no matter what the forecast is. Call or visit raybroker.com now. Ray Broker, your air conditioning and heating specialist.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
And the Smoke Show. I'm David Smoke with Craig Smoke. John Kurtz joins us. He is Open for Business Big 12 podcast on 365 Sports right now. John, thank you very much for your time. So who are they? Do they have a personality, even though they have the star quarterback back and more? But there's the coaching change from someone who's a legacy when they were really, really good in Colin Klein. Who are they in your opinion?
It's a really good question. I mean, I'm not even totally sure that Colin Klein knows at this point, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Good to see you. I think you just have, you have 28 new guys coming in from the portal, right? They lost a lot of high-end talent, which is always going to happen over a coaching change. But I think the thing that was especially jarring about this team, I guess looking back at the 2025 team really is what I mean, is like, man, they had some talent, right? They won 6 games, but like Jace Brown went to LSU. Your 2 best pass rushers went to Indiana. Your best linebackers playing at Texas Tech right now. Like, they lost some high-end talent. They had some really, really big hits there. I think defensively, they did a really nice job in the portal, stocking things up. I like where they're at the skill positions on offense. Offensive line is going to be almost entirely new. Defensive tackle is a pretty big question mark. That's kind of the general just sort of layout of like where the roster is right now, but it's just so hard to know, man. So much is different. You not only have a new head coach, but you have a first-time head coach. And I think the ceiling is incredibly high with Colin. I think he's about as sharp a human being as I have ever met in my life. I think he's going to bring, in a lot of ways, like a modernized Bill Snyder sort of approach to what you're doing right now. Like, he really wants to combine. I can tell you this, I guess, about the personality. Like, who are they? They're a team that's doing a lot more hitting at practice. It is a much more physical vibe at practice than what you had under Chris Kleiman, who was a little more laid back, especially I think in the last couple of years, wasn't doing nearly as much of that. It was kind of a frustrating storyline among some of the fans that they actually backed off even more with the Ireland game because it was starting so early. And I think fans feel like that team needed more of a physical edge. So I think you're definitely going to see that with this team. Obviously you got to manage injuries with that too. But that's what I think Colin Klein is coming to try and instill, like a culture of a little bit more toughness, because this team, what the program had turned into under Kleiman was much more talented roster, again, as evidenced by where the guys left to go to in the portal. But it was, I know soft is like such that can sound like such an insult, but it had gotten softer than it was, I think early on in Kleiman. More talented, but just not as much grit and toughness on that roster and team as what they had before. And I think that's one of the things that Colin has really set out to try and instill.
So, John, Kleiman was a good coach, but you could just tell the last couple of years that things were just off the field, not quite right, just in his head, not quite right. And I watched plenty of 3-Ma at times throughout the season, and I could see the frustration for you guys just as things were not going right. How just fresh and good does this feel to kind of have a restart and something new and just kind of pointed in a different direction right now?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with, I think, the biggest thing that has happened here is it just galvanized everybody and rejuvenated everybody when it had become contentious and you had people on different sides, because it's different. I feel like K-State went through this twice in a way, because the end of the Bill Snyder era was similar. Now, I know, Chris Kleiman has a great legacy at K-State. It's not what Bill Snyder's legacy was. That was even a little more tricky. But in both cases, you had a coach who had been really successful, and I think everybody appreciated immensely what he had done at the school, but you looked at the future and you're like, man, I don't know if this guy is going to be equipped to win moving forward, because of either, with Bill Snyder, it was definitely his age and where he was at. With Kleiman, it was more about what the game was turning into. But that was a lot of the frustration. Like, it just doesn't seem like Kleiman has it in him to want to do what it takes in this era. And that was from the athletic department on down, right? Like Gene Taylor, he was really linked at the hip with. Neither of those guys, it felt like, was really sensing the urgency of the moment to make sure you've got your NIL stuff together and you know exactly what you need to do to go out and procure the talent that you're going to have to compete with schools like Texas Tech right now, who are really elevating their level. And Colin not only gets everybody like, oh, of course I'm going to support this guy because I remember who this is, won a Big 12 championship as a quarterback, won a Big 12 championship as an offensive coordinator. But Colin also comes from Texas A&M, where he knows how it runs at the highest of levels. He knows what they're doing with NIL, with staff. That's one of the things you'll notice. Much bigger staff, support staff here at K-State than what Kleiman had, which I love. I mean, I think that's the type of thing that's necessary. And so Colin, I think, is already in the process of doing this and will continue to do it more. And the more he wins, the more leverage he'll have to do this, is just dragging that athletic department into 2026. Like, this is what we need. I've seen how it works at the SEC. I've seen how it works at the highest levels of the SEC because, I mean, there are not many people out there outspending Texas A&M, right? So he has seen what it looks like when you have every bell and whistle possible in your operation. And I think he's going to, I say slowly but surely, hopefully it's a little bit faster than that, but surely bring K-State along to that. Everybody in the athletic department, this is what we need. And hey, you're going to listen to me because I'm Colin Klein. You see that name up there on the Ring of Honor in the stadium? Like, you see all the pictures on the concourse of the stadium of me holding a Big 12 championship trophy. Yeah. Listen to me. Like, I think that is the most important thing about it, that it's going to really, really help pull the entire athletic department forward.
You know, I was saying this when you talked about how it had been kind of a tough. You had the Jerome Tang failure, right? And how that was like twisting in the wind. And then, of course, right before, well, even during the time Kleiman was on his way out. Fan base right now is probably worn the hell out and looking for something positive.
Oh, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's just, it was a brutal year. It was a brutal year. And it's funny to look back on, like, the 22-23 season, which in some ways doesn't feel that long ago. In some ways feels like an eternity ago, because that was when K-State won the Big 12 championship in football, played in the Sugar Bowl, and then went to the Elite Eight with Marquise Noel and company in basketball. And it felt like you were on top of the world. I mean, it looked like at that point you got two great coaches that, as long as you can hold on to them, like, they're not going to jump for another job. Like, they're young enough, like, you're going to be set for a long time. And it came off the rails very quickly with both of those. And so, yeah, I mean, the fan base had been in the dumps. That basketball, the thing with basketball is it was just like, it was such a huge tease to not only have the Elite Eight, but then the next couple of years, like, you're signing really high profile transfers. Like Jerome Tang, the one thing he was good about was pounding the pavement and raising money, because he was doing a lot of that himself. I will give him full credit for that. And so you're in the mix for these huge names in the transfer portal, and it gets you all excited. And then the team was just a disaster each of the last 2 years. And so it's this massive letdown. And you have that after the stress of everything with the Kleiman season, fan base and strife. Kleiman's like crying at the podium after the Utah game. Like, there was just a lot of drama. And then with Tang, it's not only he's losing, but then at the end of the year, you have him fired, and it's fired for cause. And you've got his lawyer out here on Twitter making threats. And, like, I mean, it just, by the end of it, it was like, just please get me to something new. And now, you've had a transfer portal season in basketball where I think a lot of money has gone to football right now, and basketball donors have been a little more hesitant because they just gave Tang top 15 NIL money last year and maybe top 5 NIL money the year before to not make the NCAA tournament each of those 2 years. So, like, I think you took a step back when the price of a roster, according to Evan Miyakawa, went up by 65%. So the names that you're being associated with right now in the transfer portal in basketball are not what you're used to. So it's just every day. It's something, it feels like, for K-State fans right now. But once football season gets here, seeing Colin and the boys out there, I think hopefully we'll get everybody's spirits up a bit.
So, John, is there a storyline? I don't know, it's kind of premature, although hey, it's never too early or too late to be talking about the following season. But, like, I don't want to, like, get into the trenches on the offensive line battles or anything. Is there anything, though, that you find more exciting than what Colin Klein can unleash from Avery Johnson? Is that, like, the top of mind story for K-State fans, or is there something that I'm not aware of that's along those lines?
Yeah, I'll take this two ways. I think Avery Johnson, to me, is going to tell the story of the season. Like, I think that there's no escaping that. Like, and that's kind of obvious because it's a quarterback, it's a returning quarterback, but frankly, he's been a bit disappointing. And if you look at his overall statistics, I was looking at him the other day compared to Will Howard because, Will Howard brought that comparison onto himself within the last week. They've been pretty similar, like almost identical. But it just, if you watch, I think it's pretty obvious. Like you watch Avery Johnson, it's not quite been there, not tough enough. I hope that's something Colin can really figure out. Not quite consistent and accurate enough, and just does not seem to have like like the it factor to go be a dude to go win a game when you really need him to go win a game. He's done it. He did it in Boulder a couple of years ago, but it's not been at the level that you need it to be. He's got to be someone that elevates the roster for this team to be successful, this program to be successful in the way he's being paid. He's got to be a force multiplier. I guess that's the best way to put it. He has not been a force multiplier, I don't think, so far in Manhattan. So Colin's got to unlock that, or else this team's not going to get to where the fans ultimately want it to go. I think if you're going to be better than like a 6 or 7 win team, he's got to become that. And so to me, that's bar none storyline of the season. The positive there is that Avery, I thought, looked his best when Colin was the offensive coordinator. Now, he was playing in a much more limited role. Again, no matter what Will Howard says, he played 13% of the snaps in 2023. But when he was playing, he put 5 rushing touchdowns on Texas Tech. He looked more decisive as a runner. He looked more explosive. So hopefully there's something there, and Colin will be able to tap into that. Outside of that,
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, outside of that, there's just so much new that I could go and tell you like, hey, they're going to have to develop the offensive line, and it's going to have to turn into something pretty good when you really only have one starter back and just a bunch of new faces and taking chances on talented guys in the portal who haven't really produced at the P4 level. You're going to be relying on a lot of that, I think. But I would almost point to the defense more and say, hey, Jordan Peterson is one of the guys, probably the staffer that I'm most excited about. They pulled him from Texas A&M. He's the defensive coordinator. I think a really bright up and coming name. And I think K-State pulled its most talent on the defensive side of the ball out of the portal, headlined by Wendell Gregory, former Oklahoma State Cowboy at edge. To me, it's kind of like, hey, what does Jordan Peterson's defense look like? Because I have confidence. Like, I think there's enough there on offense, skill position wise. Like, I got faith Colin's going to figure out how to make the offense work well enough. But what is the defense going to look like under a first-time coordinator there? There's youth in the head coach and the defensive coordinator, but they do have a bunch of there are 3 others on staff that have coordinator experience besides Peterson. And I say Peterson, first-time coordinator at the P4 level. They have a lot of guys, though, on staff, on the support staff, who have defensive coordinator experience. So I think they've done a really good job on paper of mixing all that together. But then what does it look like on the field? I do want to see what that is like overall, because I think to me, it feels like the ceiling on Peterson is really, really high, and they're going to need some pretty good return on that in year one.
So let's bring up Will Howard, because we did last week with the comments that he made, and a guy that was so well respected. Seemed like that ending went pretty well. Maybe I'm not there, boots on the ground, but it seemed like, and it worked out great for him. What has been the feedback from K-State fans? Are they bitter, angry, shut up, leave us alone, go on, you did your thing? What is it like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you encapsulated it pretty well. I think it's sort of a like what? Why are you doing this, man? Like, and because some of the quotes were just a little intellectually dishonest. I don't think he's wrong about all of it. I don't know the total specifics on what he got paid. I'm sure Avery Johnson got paid more, and that's just the dynamic of, hey, Avery was coming out later, right? Like into the NIL era being more in full force. In K-State's recruiting against Oregon, for instance, to try and land him, like, yeah, K-State was going to have to pay him more than Will was probably making. And Will admitted in the quote himself, he said, hey, I basically told them, like, I don't need a whole pile of money. Don't worry about it. Well, okay. What did you wanted K-State then at that point to just be like, well, no, we'll just match what Avery Johnson. He knows K-State can't do that. That's just kind of the way the cookie crumbled, and he brought some of that on himself. Now, does that introduce some weird dynamics in the locker room when you're the guy that just won the Big 12 championship last year, and here comes this freshman making more money than you? Totally. I understand how that makes things awkward and weird. And he said there were a lot of politics at play that last year. It was a tough situation to handle. And to me, it's just one of those, like, something nobody had ever dealt with in college sports before. Chris Kleiman didn't have experience with that because NIL was so new. So, yeah, there were a lot of tricky dynamics that year. So all that he is totally right on. And did K-State essentially Kyle Whittingham him out the door? Yes, they did. I mean, that was basically the same decision K-State had to make that Utah had to make on Kyle Whittingham. And it worked out swimmingly for Will, right? Like, he's right in that quote saying the best decision I ever made was to go to Ohio State. Totally, man. Got to win a national championship. Like, he's a made man in college football. And the article pointed out he made 7 figures doing it. So he got his money too. You invest that well, that's like generational wealth that you got there at his age. And he got drafted by his hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, everything worked out great. So then K-State fans are like, what? Why do you have to lie then about why Avery Johnson's playing? Will Howard went to Oklahoma State in 2023 early in the year on a Friday night and threw up a 15 of 34 with 3 interceptions in one of the worst games that I've seen a K-State offense play in my 36 years on earth. And they didn't even bench him. He played the entire game. We were screaming for Avery Johnson. They didn't put him in. Then the next week they go to Lubbock. Avery has 5 rushing touchdowns and they win. Okay, so then after that, they play a game against TCU where they're splitting time. Well, that's not because Avery Johnson was getting paid more. That's because Will Howard was throwing balls off the chest of Oklahoma State defenders all night. Like, it was just like, hey, Will was pretty inconsistent that year. And then at the end of the day, they played Avery Johnson for 13% of the snaps. It wasn't like a ton of snaps. So that quote, it does, as you can tell, like, bother me and a lot of K-State fans, because it's like, hey, man, it worked out for basically everybody. K-State fans, I guess, probably wish the Avery era had worked out a little bit better. But look, Will early in his career struggled mightily. He got thrown into the fire as a true freshman during the COVID year way too early because Skylar Thompson got hurt. And the fans just bailed on him. We're like, well, this is not the guy. And then he played in 21, not much better, was still having some, I think, mental problems more than anything, just like it would get in his head. And Chris Kleiman stuck by him. He went to the podium one day and called him the best backup quarterback in America, and the fan base just rolled its eyes. Like, he got made fun of for that, took a lot of heat for it. He stuck with the guy, and guess what? Will won a Big 12 championship and used that as a platform to launch himself to Ohio State, which made him $1 million and won a national championship, which launched him to his hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. It's like, hey, man, why are you going to insinuate that Chris Kleiman was playing Avery Johnson because he got paid more? You know that's not true. And look at what this dude did for you in your career to give you this opportunity to go to Ohio State and then to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just like, what? I am puzzled as to why at this point he feels the need to like relitigate that. My speculation would just be, I just think there's some hard feelings there throughout his career because he did take a lot of heat from fans early on when he wasn't very good. And then after the 21 season, they brought in Adrian Martinez. They basically recruited over him, even though he was still given a place on the roster. I think he probably had some feelings about that at the time, right? Like, you should have just handed me the starting job. And then he wins the Big 12 championship. And then the next year, well, here comes Avery Johnson and he's being paid more than me. I think there are probably just some feelings built up over time from that. But I think you could say all that without, I don't want to like outright say lying, but I think intellectually dishonest is the best way to put it. Will Howard knows that that's not why Avery Johnson was playing. He was there. He was in Stillwater. Anybody that watched that game understands why Avery Johnson played that year.
Oh, yeah, no, I think you nailed it on the head. It's sour grapes for whatever reason. But, yeah, I think you summed it up there, Will. And I do remember Will Howard playing how he was playing, and it wasn't confusing why Avery Johnson was playing as a result of that, like you said. John, before we let you go, I mean, there's been a lot going on already this offseason, but you also cover the Big 12. And just from Cody Campbell and Brett Yormark's kerfuffle to, is it Texas Tech versus the world, to all these new coaches, Eric Morris and Colin Klein and so on, and whatever else I'm not mentioning. I mean, just their place in the big picture of college sports at this point. Kind of where's your head at when it comes to the Big 12 and sort of your theme right now throughout spring and this offseason leading into next year?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that is crazy is you think about the amount of coaching turnover that this conference has gone through, right? Like, I think one of the storylines from the last couple of years had been the league had done a good job of, for the most part, outside of really Jed Fish, who wasn't even technically in the Big 12 before coming in from Arizona, had done a great job of retaining all the coaching talent. And then very quickly, Chris Kleiman retires. Matt Campbell finally gets plucked away and goes to Penn State. And then you have the Kyle Whittingham situation, who not only then takes 7 coaches from Utah, but takes Jay Hill from BYU, which I think is probably an under-discussed storyline of this offseason, how that's going to affect BYU's defense next year. How does this league react to that now with just almost like a vacuum of coaching talent now? You've got so many new coaches. Like, how do you Jimmy Rogers, Morgan Scalley, Colin Klein, like, how do you discern who's going to be good out of that group? I think Kenny Dillingham now all of a sudden is definitely the best coach in the league, right? Like, is he going to get Arizona State back up there? They're a really intriguing storyline this year. I think talented, but they lost so much of their front line from last year, and they have an incredibly difficult schedule. The makeup of the league will be really interesting. And then, the Texas Tech thing, man, I think they may be a couple orders of magnitude better on offense and a couple orders of magnitude worse on defense, but about the same. But the task of the Big 12 will be, can you actually catch up to these guys and not let them do what they did? I know Arizona State beat them last year, which is fair, but outside of that, they beat everybody by 3 touchdowns. Like, you've got to be more competitive there, or else Tech's going to continue to act like they just did with the whole Cody Campbell v. Brett Yormark thing, right? Like, I just got done taping a good conversation with my buddy Rob Rowe, who does sports radio at Double T Sports Network in Lubbock. And that was basically his point in the conversation. He's like, hey, man, Tech's trying to lift the entire, like, we want the league to be better. It's not just us. The league needs to get on board. And I think it was just really jarring for everybody to see. 365 days ago, guys, we were, Texas Tech in that unofficial preseason media poll was picked like 4th in the Big 12. And now we're sitting here talking about, the Kalshi market had them as the number 1 most likely team to go unbeaten next year. FanDuel's odds have them as the 2nd most likely team in the country to make the college football playoff behind Notre Dame. So I think that's been really jarring and tough for a lot of people to deal with. Having said that, maybe get back off just a little bit. Like Cody, I like a lot of what you're doing with saving college sports, but maybe abide by the TV contract that you signed and not expect the league to be so reactionary every single year to what they're doing with the TV schedule. Like, at some point you got to bite the bullet and play. And I bet that Tech Houston game does a really big number on Friday night anyway. So, and
a huge part of who may play for the conference championship if Willie Fritz and them continue to do what they did from one year to the next.
Well, that's a great point. And if you're talking, man, I know I just threw Kenny Dillingham in there as like easily best coach in the Big 12. Willie Fritz might be number 2. Hey. I love what Houston's doing. I love what they did in the portal. And I'll say that for the Big 12. Like, I think Houston really stepped up in the portal this year. I think Oklahoma State obviously stepped up and spent some money in the portal to get all those guys from North Texas who were, the top 3, the quarterback, receiver, running back combo. They were definitely going to be like top 5 players-ish at their position. They had to step up and spend to get that roster in place, and they're doing it. So you've got Arizona State stepped up and kept Kenny Dillingham, right? They didn't let him go take the Michigan job. I think they made a better financial commitment to what they're doing with football, right? So teams are trying, but you can't let Tech go through and do it again, or else they're going to be able to continue acting like that, and there's not much that you can do.
Yeah, I felt it was a little bit premature to start barking commands and claiming that the league doesn't respect you or is not protecting you enough. I thought that was a little bit of a bridge too far too quickly. But I also know, I think the dude wants to go watch his kid play on Friday nights as much as anything, and that drove a lot of that, as well as Tech being in a different place. But I do think a concern now, John, is, and I know you probably got to go, but you better hope that Arizona State and BYU and every once in a while Baylor, TCU can upset the apple cart, because if this does turn into a situation where a league that was all about parity suddenly becomes parity, but the one team on top's always the same, then I don't think that's a good recipe for this league. So they really need some teams to step up and invest like Texas Tech has if they can.
It is interesting because I do remember when we were having that conversation a couple of years ago about the parity thing, it was like, well, you kind of need your big brands, right? Like, that's what drives the SEC and the Big Ten. You need your big brands. Like, actually, the SEC has turned into more like the Big 12, where it's a lot of, pretty good teams, but nobody elite. And now the Big Ten's got the recipe of like, hey, we'll throw 3 elite teams together, and then the rest is a lot of, and that's working pretty well. So I don't know. Maybe that recipe does work better for the Big 12 if Texas Tech is up there,
maybe
winning every single year, and then everybody else just kind of rotates. Who gets to be the jobber that goes and gets beat by them, and then. Hey, who knows, guys? Maybe we'll have the Red Raider Network before too long.
Oh God!
Oh,
don't give them
stop.
any ideas.
Stop.
There's some that will start that up right now if you give them the green light to do that. But yeah, I think that may be the way. The only downside to that, if that were to be the case, that Tech is kind of carrying the flag, is just that you can hear the narratives coming from the rest of the outside where it's a one pony league. That would be my fear if it were to turn out that way. But we'll see, man. It's going to be a very interesting year coming up. A lot of uncertainty all over the place. So appreciate you being a part of the show with us today, man.
John, thank you, man. Great to have you back on. Great segment. Really, really insightful in many different ways. We appreciate it. Yeah, when the Big 12 had those two other names, the Texas and Oklahoma, and even then before that, A&M and Missouri, there was always a clump of about OU carried the flag most of the time, right, John and Craig? But you had a clump of about 3 to 5 teams that were simmering. Sometimes it was somebody else.
K-State,
K-State,
Oklahoma State.
You had the early
TCU Baylor, right? I mean, you had the TCU Baylor.
And that's what they need. They need others to join that. And they have 3 to 5 right now, but now they need a couple of the ones in the mid-level, midsection below to raise their commitment in game 2. Appreciate your time, John. Have a great rest of the week.
Hey, you too, guys. Great to chat.
John Kurtz with us. Again, his podcast on the Big 12, Open for Business. Great segment with him.
Yeah, I always love talking to John. He does a great job covering college football, covering the Big 12, covering Kansas State. So, yeah, it's been a little while since we talked to him. Good to just kind of kick the tires on a few different topics. And that is something I've thought about, where we ended up there in the end with Texas Tech, and that conversation is they're not going anywhere. Like they're not going to be a fly-by-night. They're not going to suddenly in a couple years just be back to the middle of the league and not really competing for the title. Those days are over with. But can you not see, though, if Texas Tech just runs the league for like the next couple of years, the narrative of, it's just Texas Tech and it's a bunch of job, like he said, the word jobber, which I appreciate as a wrestling fan.
I saw the Kalshi tweet and what they said about Tech and the first 5 responses. Again, this is from Billy Joe in Tuscaloosa or Frank in Columbus. But the very first 4 to 5 responses, well, of course they have the weakest schedule in America. And then, which also was an absolute direct shot at the Big 12 with anyone else who's pretty damn good. So,
well, you know what? If you don't like it, you got to do something about it. And that's where, I know sometimes you can be a fan of a league or of a team and get defensive. But, I mean, you know what? If you look at it from their perspective, are they wrong? Are they totally wrong by thinking that way, that it's Snow White, Texas Tech, and then it's a bunch of dwarfs? Or is there somebody, and now Arizona State a couple years ago?
I think they're wrong only because there needs to be more meat on the bones when it comes to big games. There needs to be more success when it comes to the bigger games. Then. So that's what I'm saying. They are right. And that's why, because you can say, well, you're just picking on me or whatever. No, go win those games and get 2 teams in the playoff. And maybe eventually there's 3, but you got to have success against other alphas if you want to be an alpha.
Yeah, so you're actually agreeing with what I said.
Yes, I thought from the beginning I did.
No, I think you just misunderstood. Regardless, I do think that you've got to have some others. And now, look, ASU just stepped up and won it 2 years ago. And the Texas game, if that goes differently, then I think the narrative in general is a little bit different, but it didn't go differently. It ended the way that it did. So you do need somebody to not only just make the playoff, but you need somebody that's going to make Texas Tech have to work for it, like in Arizona State being the only team to beat them last year. So they've held their weight. I mean, they've done their jobs, I think, in proving that they can be around. But Utah, BYU, everybody needs to win more and win bigger games. And I think BYU's done that to some extent, but it's not been enough in combination just yet to really move the needle to kind of change the narrative. And the narrative that's developing right now very much is it's Texas Tech and then just a bunch of just average schools. And I don't think that's the case, but I do look at it from the point of view of a Georgia fan or some dude at Happy Valley, and I can see why you would think that. And it didn't do the league any favors or Texas Tech that they went and they had their performance that they did against Oregon. Even if the final score, I know Texas Tech fans, some will say, well, it's not indicative of how the game went. Yeah, but that's what everybody's going to read in the history books, and everybody knows what they watched last year. So that wasn't the greatest finish. So even they still have work to do. And they know that. I mean, nobody's more self-aware that they've got to win more and that they're expected to win more than Texas Tech. So, yeah, from them all the way to whoever you think team number 16 is, there's still a lot of work for this league to do is the point, to better their image and to gain the respect that they feel like they deserve. You got to go earn it, and they have to some degree, but there's still a lot more that needs to be earned to change the overall big picture narratives.
What blanket, if the Big Ten and SEC is top heavy, it's good. If the Big 12 ever becomes or is thought of as top heavy, it's bad. I don't think anyone consider, I think those who pay attention may understand that, but that's why you do it year in and year out. You need 4 or 5 teams in the top 25, and you need 1 or 2 or 3 of them to be in or right around the top 10. Wet Blanket also brought this up. Great to have you in the chat, all of you today. Thank you. Hit the like button if you have it. How many college football playoff wins does Oklahoma have? I don't think they have one. They have some near misses, and they have also been bludgeoned, and then, of course, blown some games. But they don't have to prove themselves year in and year out. That's why when you get to be that point, you got to win some just because of lineage, whether it should be a part of the conversation or not.
Yeah, I mean, Wet Blanket, appreciate your comments and appreciate you being involved as always. Yeah, I think they just point to their trophy case, my man. I mean, they historically they've been there, done that, and other schools similarly. Like, what has Tennessee done lately, right? But they point to their trophy case and they say, it's what we've done. It's why we're Tennessee. And that's where the winning comes into play. Like, what changes the narrative, what changes the trajectory, what changes the respect levels? It's winning. And so I think it's not at all controversial to say that the Big 12 could stand to have every single team in this league win at a higher level than they've won before, or jump up several levels in some cases. I mean, Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Arizona State, Utah, BYU. I mean, at times, all these schools, and some I'm not mentioning, I mean, Colorado has a national title. They do have a national title. BYU has a national title. TCU's got a national title, although it was very, very long ago. I mean, so they're not without some accolades, but I think in the modern day, like when you bring up top heavy, I think there's a difference in saying there's 5 teams that could all legitimately make the playoff and win a national championship or win a couple games versus the perception right now of the Big 12, where I believe they clearly do not respect BYU. That's been shown the last 2 years. And so now the narrative's forming where it's Texas Tech and the rest of those guys. And they don't have anybody historically significant enough to just be allowed in the club without getting patted down and everything first. Whereas Oklahoma, for example, they can just walk right in because of what they've done historically. So I think that's the big difference. And you can't do that overnight, but you can just hope that everybody's putting forth the maximum amount that they possibly can, and you see where that takes you. And right now, I do think it's questionable that everybody's investing as much as they can, or if they've got the right guys in place or whatever. Texas Tech's clearly in a good groove. I think some of these coaching hires this offseason will put teams like K-State and Oklahoma State hopefully back squarely in the mix. And then you hope that the Utahs, the BYUs, the TCUs just keep getting better and better as well. But I think it's going to be a really fun league. I just worry for the league that there is that narrative, even though it's really only a 1-year narrative, because the whole Texas Tech thing just started last year. It wasn't like this is 5 years in the making. I mean, it was last year when they really made their mark. So it's too soon to draw those conclusions, but I do feel, based on everything I've taken in, that those conclusions are already being drawn by a lot of people that just kind of look at the league real quick and then glance back.
It's lazy as F.
Yeah.
It really is. That's just because you have to beat not only teams, but you have to beat a mindset.
You have to beat the narrative.
Stubbornness, arrogance. And you know what? You just have to. And that's what Indiana did. They did it. They went out and did it because no one believed in them 2 years. That's a cute little story. And then they did it again and again and again 16 times a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, they were a flash in the pan maybe, or maybe on their way up, but certainly not what we saw them do. And then they did what they did, and now it's a completely different conversation. So that's what other teams will have to do and follow suit. And Texas Tech, to get a different degree above where they are, they need to go win the Big 12 again and win a playoff game or two. And same goes across the board. So like I said a year ago, like I said 3 years ago, I said 5 years ago, whenever we've talked about realignment and how the Big 12 or any league can better themselves, it's all about winning. So we'll see how much winning gets done this year, but I do feel great about Kansas State's change in leadership. I liked Klieman a lot, but I do think Colin Klein's a breath of fresh air, and I'm excited to see what he can do with that program.
All right, we break here. Come back. Roger Wallace, who's the UT football color analyst. He'll join us today, and Dion Imati, who's now the sideline analyst for Oklahoma State football, will join us too. Much more to get to. Some basketball news in the portal. Utah finds a player, and Texas is on a heater when it comes to what they're doing too. Baylor has a new assistant GM that brings back some memories. That and more. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco. Nick Caldwell, the general manager, when he arrived a little less than a year ago, he had a dream to give it a facelift and create a few, not wrinkles, but energy, passion. They already have great food. Lee, of course, Fields, the executive chef, and they have a great staff. But they did give it a facelift. They moved some things around and painted this or opened this, and it's fantastic. We will host our annual banquet to honor high school senior student athletes on May 13th inside the Baylor Club. Can't wait to be there because the staff, and thanks to Macy Knight for all she's done from their end to help us be ready and get ready. It's just phenomenal. By the way, the new spring menu came out. I saw this, bringing lighter flavors, familiar favorites, including the return of the fan favorite, the club quesadillas. Whether you're stopping in for lunch or dinner or drinks or brunch or whatever it might be, there's always something new waiting for you because Nick Caldwell did that. And it was a slow, methodical, but well worth the wait. And man, does it look great. Spring is here, and you should be at the club. Tell them 365 Sports sent you. Also, graduation. Seniors, get on the Baylor Club, either their Facebook page or the website, about a promotion that they're having. Exclusive reception is hard to beat, so make your reservation today. There are really good people, from the service to the, I guess you get the menu, the service, to the amenities, to hosting an event there. It could be a luncheon, a speaking engagement, a symposium, or like I said, it could be a banquet. And of course, they have memberships available. As I mentioned, it's worth it. Great place, the Baylor Club, inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Join the celebration. It's 27 years for Richard Car Motors, and we're celebrating with big anniversary savings. The GMC Sierra delivers strength, power, and a refined interior loaded with premium comfort and technology. During Richard Car's 27th anniversary sale, find savings like $9,000 off all Sierra 1500 Pro and SLE models in stock. Thank you, Central Texas, for 27 years. Log on, call, or come by today to find big anniversary savings now.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
And here we go, the SMOAK Show with Craig and David Smoke, and a great friend we've known forever, and also the color analyst for UT football, does other sports on the radio for UT as well, and a part of KXAM TV in Austin. Roger Wallace joins us. How you doing, young man? You still, we got audio? Are we hearing? I don't know if you got the mic on or not. Maybe, is that us, Rez, or is that up? Here we go. No, we're not. You might be muted. Is that us? Why don't we, Rez, try to work on that. Put me back on screen with Craig if you don't mind, and we'll discuss a couple of things, and we'll try to get Roger hooked up yet again. It's an interesting conversation going on this week with the College Football Playoff Committee, Craig. They're meeting. They're not expected to make any decisions about anything, whether it's 16 or whatever. But they're meeting, and one of the topics of discussion is whether or not they should do the weekly TV show. And, of course, I hate it. I can understand it maybe once or twice. They say it's a continuation of the BCS because they wanted a human element. I think it's a waste of time. I know they may make money off of it. What say you?
I mean, I don't hate it because I don't care enough about it to say that I hate it, but I don't find it necessary. And I think that there's a logical point to do it there towards the end of the year. You don't just have one recap show there at the very end by any means. But, yeah, they probably started a step too early. And I don't know that in the big picture it's something that's all that beneficial necessarily for the product, because it just, I think, leaves fans more confused half the time, or fighting over rankings that aren't finished yet. And at the same time, there are some things that are rightfully pointed out, like last year, the whole Miami conversation. You could kind of see how they were setting the table and then wondering how they were going to land the plane if they needed to. And they landed it, but it was very interesting how that all worked out. So it did allow us to kind of get that insight early on into like, ooh, this may be a problem, or how are they going to fix this if Miami keeps winning or if these teams around them lose. So it does provide a little bit of drama, but I think it also creates a lot of unnecessary drama. And yes, it's mostly just a vanity project at first and foremost for the people involved and for the leaders of college football. So I think we could use a couple of those shows at the tail end of the year. I don't think we need the weeks of build up there throughout the second half of the season to get to the end point. I think you could do that, like, I don't know, going into conference championship weekend or maybe the week before. And I'm not sure exactly even when it starts right now off the top of my head, because after the first year, and that was 10 years ago, it's not something that I really stress or spend a lot of time on. I just find the whole exercise very theatrical and unnecessary. So I'm all for them tweaking it. I don't think you do away with it entirely, but certainly you could tweak it.
Yeah, I think you can do it. You just don't need to do it. I think it confuses college football fans more than it actually educates them. That's my feel. That's how it confuses the hell out of me. I know that's for sure. We're working on trying to get Roger on by cell phone here in just a moment. It absolutely, I don't know why you would ever want to be the spokesperson.
Vanity. Ego.
There you go. I was going to say, unless it's your ego, You don't get any more. You don't get more money. You're already staying in some probably incredible suite at the Gaylord Texan Resort. You're getting paid to be at least all the amenities and all that. I just can't imagine otherwise.
I mean, it's also
why you would want to be a part
something
of
cool to put on your resume. It's something cool to be a part of. I mean, I don't think it's really complicated why guys would want to do it. It's a spot as a leader on a big time committee that determines who gets to play in the playoff. And yeah, it's all the amenities and things that come with that. It's really easy to see from their standpoint why they want to do it, but it's also very fair to see from a fan standpoint of why they don't want this ESPN production setting the narratives for the playoff and how they're going to puppeteer this thing, because there are a lot of people that feel that way, that these rankings are massaged and eventually kind of predetermined to the degree that they can be. So I think you could eliminate a lot of that as well by not having them quite as early and let the season play out a bit more.
All right, waiting on, again, Rez, let me know what we're going to do. I think we're going to get him on the phone here in just a minute. So that's what's going on. Chris Vanini with that story.
I'm glad they're discussing it. I mean, I think it's worthwhile to discuss, and it's definitely worth the conversation to have on whether it's best for the game. So, yeah, I'm glad they're at least talking about it.
Also, one other note, Brett McMurphy had this as we went into the weekend. Puerto Rico Bowl is joining the 2026 lineup as the Poinsettia Bowl returns after a decade. So they're changing up some of the connections between conferences and some bowl games. It's very complicated. Too many bowl games for me to keep up with, but I know that they're there and people like to be in them. But the Poinsettia Bowl, 10 years, it has been out of existence, not a part of the lineup, and it now will be starting this season.
Yeah, that's cool. For the Poinsettia Bowl fans out there, whoever you may be, the Puerto Rico Bowl, that's an interesting spot. I think that'll be very nice during the course of Christmas break. And yeah, I'm not anti-bowl. I just don't know how it all fits moving forward. I think there's still plenty of examples from this past offseason that people played in bowl games and had a good time and it was worthwhile. So, yeah, I'm not one of those trying to get rid of them entirely. I do think there's a lot of them that are a waste of time and sponsorships, but hopefully this one works out well. And I think there's worse places to be than Puerto Rico during the month of December. So, yeah, I think that'll probably be a fun trip, but we'll see. It could be like the Bahamas Bowl, where you're in the Bahamas, but it's also not the greatest like stadium or setup in the world either. We'll have to see the details.
Roger Wallace, KXAN TV, and again, the UT college football analyst with us for the Horns, joins us on 365 Sports. Roger, thanks for your time. Sorry about the technical issues. So obviously, I don't know. There's always a lot of hype, but it seems like maybe is as high as I've seen before or felt before with Muschamp and Arch another year. Is that the case? And is there a reason to feel that way?
Sorry, man, we're low tech down here, David. We got to go with the phone call.
That's okay.
So, well, here's the thing. Last year, the hype, and we talked about it with Arch, was ridiculous because he'd started 2 games and he had Manning on the back of his jersey. This year, he's got a body of work. He struggled. He kind of came out on the other side of it, played well, won some big games, won big road games, and then with a depleted roster, helped win a bowl game that I know they don't mean anything. I would love to get on your bowl game conversation and your college football show conversation. I was enjoying that. But I guess it's warranted because, they hit a home run apparently with Cam Coleman in the portal. They got 2 established running backs in the portal. The running game was a struggle last year. So it feels like it's warranted because it's a great storyline for everyone to talk to, because if it doesn't go right, they love to, knock them down. And if it does, well, we told you so this time around with Texas.
Roger, I'll go ahead and ask you now when we get back to Texas. What are your thoughts, if any, on just kind of what we were discussing there, bowl games and whatnot?
First of all, the show. And that was my biggest problem with the show was all those smart people in the room, and they had Notre Dame ahead of Miami, knowing that Notre Dame probably wasn't going to lose again. And there was not one person in that room that said, you know what? We're in a lot of trouble here if Notre Dame runs the table and we're going to jump Miami because they beat them head-to-head. Why don't we get Miami ahead of Notre Dame? So that was my thought all fall. Bowl games, whatever. you're right. Puerto Rico seems like an interesting trip. That Bahamas Bowl the stadium was a disaster.
Yes.
Mac Brown did the Bahamas Bowl once, and he told me that it was so hot in the booth that they were just miserable. They had no circulation in the booth doing the Bahamas Bowl. And but if somebody's going to foot the bill and two teams get to go play there and have fun and play a football game, fine. But now the bowl games, what are they even doing because of the playoff? And if it expands, then again, what are we doing here other than just adding another game to fill inventory for ESPN?
Yeah, and there are the opt-outs, and sometimes immediately in the transfer portal. And so now it's almost like NFL preseason at the college level.
Yeah, I was in Orlando, obviously, for the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. And, Texas was, I think they were down to like 60 scholarship players. But Michigan was down too. Michigan didn't have a head coach. It was kind of a mess on both sides. Turned out to be a fairly entertaining game. And that's what that'll be the response. And I have no defense for it. It was a pretty entertaining game. A lot of people watched it early in the day on New Year's Eve. So again, it's about inventory. And when you cut through it all, you're going to get some pretty entertaining games that people will watch. People like me who complain about it, and then I'll turn it on because it's on, like conference tournaments in basketball. I hate conference tournaments in basketball, and I love watching them all week.
That's how it goes normally. Like, this sucks. We don't need it. And then, what's on TV? All right, cool. We'll check this out.
Yeah. How are you deciding a conference champion in 3 days after they just beat each other's brains out for 2 months? But that's another discussion.
So I was reading some things about was it KJ Lacey looking pretty good? What jumped out? I know it's spring and all that. We don't want to overreact too much, but were there some things that did jump out to you? Like, oh, well, that's interesting, or that guy looked pretty good.
Well, the young guys, along with their portal quarterback MJ Morris, who was like Caldwell last year, the guy that's been around the block and kind of emergency guy, but they got a lot of work because Arch was limited because of the foot surgery. So, Sark loves Lacey, loves Diabell, and then he got nicked up at the end. But I think if everybody evolves like you would expect, Bell, just by the hype coming in and all the stars around him and things like that, he would be the next guy. But I think Coleman, they think, is exactly what they thought. He was a really hard worker, and he helped bring the other guys along. And you got Ryan Wingo, who is coming off some off-season medical stuff. Emmett Mosley as well, and he said that room has been great. With you talking about 3 guys that are established, and then some young guys. And if you're going to ask about Saturday, Dalen McCutcheon's probably the guy that was the headliner as far as splash plays in the spring fan day. They did an open practice, not a game. But yeah, I think. But honestly, if something happens to Arch, then all of a sudden this whole dynamic changes. Other than if it's a short-term fix that they need, like at Mississippi State, where guy comes in and throws one pass in overtime, and it turns out to be the game winner.
Cam Coleman, obviously the biggest name, but there's others that we've brought up and you brought up as well. Is there someone that perhaps is being overlooked among the amount of transfers that they expect to, make it a hit pretty quickly?
Sark said it, so can I just I'll just mimic him. He said Ryan Wingo. He said, don't forget about Wingo because of the attention from that Cam Coleman's getting. And the story goes that Wingo was the closer on the visit because Arch jokes that he had to go out with an offensive lineman that same night, and they didn't get the lineman, but they got Cam Coleman, and they said that Coleman was the closer. That's not why I'm answering your question that way.
Sure.
But I think because of the attention that Coleman got, and then Wingo had some up and down moments with drops, that maybe he's a guy that is a little bit out of the stream of consciousness. So that's who Sark was quick to point out. I think if Mosley's healthy, he couldn't play last year the first month, and then it took him a while. But man, he's tough and he's reliable. But again, he's coming off another, off season, taking care of some stuff. He was out there on Saturday, but I would say probably the other two wide receivers. And then I don't know about the running backs because you got two guys that are established at other places coming in. You figure they're going to get the bulk of the work in, Hollywood Smothers and Raleigh Brown. Brown, obviously, you guys know, Big 12 guy from Arizona State, and Smothers was really productive at North Carolina State.
Roger, what's it like to see Will Muschamp back around Austin? Is there more yelling at practice? Like, what's the vibe change with Muschamp back there?
It was cool, and we had a pretty special relationship because that was back in the day where the radio crew got to meet face-to-face with the coordinators for about 20 minutes on Thursdays, and we'd meet with Greg Davis and Muschamp in their office, and Muschamp just loved talking and obviously had some great stories and animated and all that. So that was, plus it was, 08, 09, how it was around here. And then things went south in 10, and sure enough, he's the head coach at Florida on that December night where people thought the whole program was caving in when he took that job. But yeah, it was cool to have him around. And I think Sark, Pete Kwiatkowski was really good, especially the last couple of years. The 2 playoff years, but Muschamp's going to be like the head coach on defense, and it's cool to have him back and kind of listen to him talk about being back at Texas and how easy of a decision it was for him to come back. We'll see what they do. We'll see how good they are on defense. He's got a good starting point with Colin Simmons up front and Kanu Hero. It's Kanu, by the way. Now it was Hero Kanu last year. Now it's Kanu. So we got one of those name changes on us. Like Parker Livingston.
Yeah.
It was Livingstone, then it was Livingston. Well, now they call him other things, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Trader. Various other things.
Texas got an OU player on the women's side now from the portal. So I figure it's a swap.
Golly, I know you do some of the women's back. What's happened to that? I know they have a bunch of 5 stars, a lot of talent, but was this expected for such a great coach to have so many girls or women leaving the program?
It was I would think. Now, I would say I'll start with Aaliyah Crump, the freshman. And sometimes you can just observe and not hear a word said and say, maybe this just isn't working out. And she was very productive when she played, really good offensive player, but you kind of felt like she wasn't all in just body language wise. Lee and Carlton, people behind the scenes will say they saw it coming. I honestly didn't, because they were bought in, and Carlton was a kid that just kind of played with this half smile on her face, so you never quite knew what was going on. But she's going to play with her sister. You can't fault her for that, because obviously she's not going to win at Houston, but she gets to play close to home. Her mom's a single mom, and her sister's on that team. Jordan Lee, some will say they saw it coming. I honestly didn't, but you can't argue with where she picked. She was really good against South Carolina in their games against South Carolina, and now she'll have to play Texas, but clearly something wasn't clicking with her. But, they're going to get coached hard anywhere, right? I mean, if that was it, they don't, because I went to a lot of practices. I was on the road with them. Vic Schaefer was not this taskmaster with them. I mean, he would have a lot of fun with them. He would joke around with them. He made it fun. They went and got ice cream every night before games on the road and all that stuff that you have to do. But, in this day and age, there are a lot of reasons why kids leave, not necessarily just because they're unhappy.
So, Roger, before we let you go, just kind of wrapping it all up, and that Rory Harmon was a treat to watch. I know they're going to miss her a lot, but at least I guess UCLA won the title, so you at least go, okay, well, we lost to the team that won it. Not that makes you feel all that much better, but I guess to wrap things up, because we can go down a lot of different paths, Texas is, again, being looked at as one of the best teams in the country next year. That's nothing new. That's even in years where they don't deserve it. There's a whole conversation about that as well. But they clearly are in line and deserving of that kind of accolades this year. Is this one of those like, no, we're a year still away? Or is everybody kind of on the same page of like, no, we got Cam Coleman, we got Arch as a junior, we got Will Muschamp, like Raleigh Brown, like this is natty or bust? Is it any different in that regard, or is it just kind of the same old feeling?
No, there's urgency. To say Natty is maybe a stretch, but certainly get back to the playoff and have a chance. The old line for swimmers: you get a lane, you get a chance, and if they can get in, they got a chance. But yes, that's very realistic for one reason: Arch Manning. You're going to have to recycle and start over with a quarterback, and you can say all you want about other positions, but you got to have the quarterback. And they got a veteran. They got a guy that has a lot of scar tissue from what he went through and seems to be better for it. And like you said, some of the names that the offense should be dynamic if that offensive line is improved. And then we'll see what Will Muschamp does with the defense. Schedule looks a little more favorable. You still got Ohio State coming in week 2, but as you guys discussed when I started listening with the selection shows, we're not sure what that means in week 2, right? I mean, yep. Texas beat 2 teams that went to the playoff and they didn't. They beat Oklahoma and they beat Texas A&M, and both of those teams got at-large bids to the playoff, and Texas didn't. So, that Ohio State game, I don't know if it means much either way, but yeah, I think we'll have a good barometer because there's no easing into it. There's no Arch's first road game. Defending national champs. There's none of that. It's week 2. It's here. And, that'll set the tone just like last year. It kind of set them back a little bit. And then in 2005, you think about that game at Ohio State, and that kind of allowed them back when you couldn't afford a bump in the road. But that was the one that got them going for the national title. Not saying this is a national championship team, but it's certainly it's got to be considered a contender.
Yeah, the win at the Shoe back in 2005 on the Lima Swede catch, and that yep. was what eventually. That was a collision course with USC. If you don't mind, Texas plays damn good people. At least one big boy team every non-conference they have for as long as I can remember. They have never shied away from that. I know that there's now 9 conference games. I know Sarkis talked about it a little bit. Maybe Del Conte too. What do people at Texas want? What do you don't want to see that alpha game disappear, do you?
Yes and no. I think they want to win a national championship, and if they think that has anything to do with hurting their chances as opposed to helping them, and it's 9 SEC games, to your point, David, and I know it's going to upset a lot of people, but the Big 12 schedule did not get Texas fans excited because the one marquee game they had every year was in Dallas. So therefore, that home schedule never really got them excited once A&M left, and that game was off the schedule. So suddenly they needed that non-conference game just to get people excited. And you're right. I don't know what they're going to do with that Notre Dame series coming up. They've got Ohio State coming in. They've got Michigan coming in. I think they're going to honor those because they want those home games. But after that, they got out of the Arizona State series down the road. So we'll see. But I don't know if they think it's worth it. If you're playing 9 SEC games, why not just play 3 home games? You have to play a Power 4, but make sure it's at home.
Yep. One question from the chat about your tight end, not yours, but UT's tight end position group. What's that like?
Well, they had a bunch of them last year. They've got the transfer from Michigan State. Yeah. Michael Masunis. I think they think he, tight end in Sark's offense needs to be productive. That was one of the puzzling parts about last year with Jack Endries. He started out really well, and then he went really quiet, and they had other guys step up, but nobody consistently. But I think he's a guy they think that can be really productive at that. I don't know if he's a Gunnar Helm, that good. And then they got a lot of guys, Nick Townsend, who scored a touchdown in the A&M game, Amari Winston, Spencer Shannon, a lot of guys that will figure out who separates themselves. But again, you go get a guy out of the portal from a Michigan State, and you probably are telling him, and he's probably expecting to be a guy that's going to be productive.
Hey, man, go do the news, sports, and also keep up the great work, Roger. Great to have you on the show again. Thank you.
Great to talk to you guys, man.
Roger Wallace, KXAN TV, but also does a lot of the different various sports on radio, but UT color analyst with Craig Way on football too. Thanks to Paxton for the question about the tight end position. I forgot that Endress was gone, and I did know that they had the big tight end from Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, Endress was a good player, but they've got some pieces. It's not all completely intact and just carried over from a year ago. So that's one area that you do look and you say, okay, what about this? And then obviously offensive line injuries, like you hope that's better luck when the actual season rolls around and isn't affecting you like it did now at the end of spring. But they're loaded, man. I mean, they are absolutely loaded. They're not without questions as we're talking about here, but I don't know how you hype it up anymore, and I don't know how you can downplay it either.
You can't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all legitimate. I think there's absolutely years where the brand just gets attention because it's the brand, and it's just fair to say that. But I think in this case, this year, it's absolutely deserved, and it's not just let's talk UT because there's a big audience. It's no, like they stand to be perhaps the team hoisting it up at the end of the year is the last team remaining. And I'm not quite there yet. I haven't decided on a national champion. I'm not going to do that right now. But I will get into that practice at some point here in the coming months and picking conference champions and the playoff field and all those different things. And I know damn sure I got Texas in the playoff field. I just don't know where and how and all of that just yet. But it's a massive year. I mean, the all eyes will be on them because this is probably the last year of Arch. And then you give him all of these fun toys and you bring back a personality like Muschamp and his familiarity with the SEC. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a real fun ride from the outsider's perspective, just kind of see where this Texas story takes us. And I think it'll be a really fun ride for Texas fans. But, easier said than done.
All right. We have a few things to catch up on. Dion Imati, who played at Oklahoma State, also their sideline analyst, will join us here momentarily. Craig, let's weave here as we produce on the air. We have 10 minutes until we get to Dion. We have a couple of other stories. You want to talk between now and then? You want to break? You tell me. We'll do either one.
I mean, I say we just go ahead and take a break, and then we come back and we start talking. And when Dion joins us, he joins us.
All right, here's what we'll do, Rez. We'll take a break. We'll come back with a couple of those basketball notes that we had locked in and ready to go. We do appreciate you. If you have not subscribed to our channel, this is 365 Sports. This show is the Smoke Show with Craig Smoke and David Smoke. We appreciate you here every second you give us every single day. And back for more, this is the Smoke Show in 365 Sports. Let's this past weekend, I played golf on Saturday and Sunday. Played golf yesterday afternoon at a very nice course, White Bluff, Lake Whitney, very hilly. All the greens and all the tee boxes were raised. It's a big boy course. I played the day before in a horrendous amount of wind and almost where my contacts might as well have been like LASIX in my eyes. The wind was so, and I did run yet again. I ran this morning. I ran a mile. I got up early yesterday just around where I live and ran a mile. I did not run for 4.5 to 5 years. I had steroid injections in my back to try to help alleviate what was a hip issue with the tug, and just couldn't even get 3 to 5 steps of jogging. I do that now. Now I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to go like 5 miles, but I can run, and it gives me a great start, a nice sweat. Then I'll go do some workout if I can. And all of that because since September with QC Kinetics, it will help and take your natural body fluid, your like natural biologics, your blood, platelets, stem cells. It will take what is inside your body, spin it, and put it back in your body. And I am telling you now, I feel great. Frisky in a little ways. I just love what it does. There are numbers on the screen. Thank you, Rez. 972-972-8610, 713-913-5285. I had not run for nearly 5 years. Now I'm running a mile about 3 to 4 times a week. I don't have the pain afterwards. I don't have the pain after I have a workout. I don't have pain after playing golf. Man, I want you to try this if you've tried everything else and all of a sudden the only thing left is chatter about surgery. It's QCkinetics.com. Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
All right, we will leave this up until Dion Imati joins us, the sideline analyst for Oklahoma State football. UT basketball, and we just had Roger Wallace on, and some of you discussing the segment in the chat. We'll get to that if we can. They are now number one in the country when it comes to overall transfer activity, according to Evan Miyakawa, and the number 2 overall incoming transfer class. They landed Elijah Freeman from Auburn, a sophomore averaging just over 9 points and 5 rebounds a game. They now have Isaiah Johnson, one of the highest rated transfers. Freeman, same thing. TCU's David Punt and Mattis Vokatitis as well. So they've done a pretty damn good job in the offseason. You knew they would because of their commitment to Sean Miller.
I mean, he's a great coach, and they've got a lot of money, and it's a proud program. So I think it'd be shocking if they weren't doing well for themselves in the portal. But, yeah, to have the number 1 class is a good sign so far and a good place to be. I really wish it was easier to just find things like this. Like I go to On3 and I'm 2026 college basketball team transfer portal rankings. It's sending me all around at different rankings, and it's got Texas at like 13th. So what is that based off of? You don't know.
Evan Miyakawa.
Okay.
It's off his analytics.
I was just okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a difference in opinion on where it ranks, but they seem to be cleaning up and doing a really good job early on. Yeah, I think that Sean Miller in Texas, the sky's the limit there, and they had I think a bit further of a journey into the tournament this year than was expected in the best kind of way. So momentum's on their side, certainly, and they're seemingly taking advantage of it.
Utah, meanwhile, picked up one of the highest-rated prospects out of Europe. Noam Yakov is now going to be a part of Utah and their program. 18 points a game in Europe, 6 assists per game. Was going to go through, he might even still perhaps test that NBA draft market, which is not until June, but a very highly ranked player that Utah could use it. You know, the basketball program needs an adrenaline rush. And so Noam Yakov has been able to sign and commit to Utah, barring anything he does in the NBA.
I mean, we won't pretend to know much about the guy, but yeah, Utah can use all the help they can get. I mean, they pride themselves on football, but the basketball piece really needs to step it up a notch. And they have, to this point, been right there at the bottom of the conference and the standings the last couple of years, and just really a big non-factor in the grand scheme of things. So the more talent that they can add and improve upon, then I think the better for obviously them first and foremost, but then for all the tentacles as far as the league and those types of things as well. But yeah, he comes over from Israel, it looks like. So he 6'2" point guard. I mean, I don't know much about him, but Utah can use the help, like we said.
Villanova, Washington, Indiana, who's had a huge transfer offseason. They needed one also. We're on his list. And then this picture from Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, who was also the MC of the annual Texas Sports Hall of Fame, which is a mile and a half from where we are. That's where the building is. But they had this big event inside what is called the base. It's in like a newer version of the convention center. And a part of this picture from left to right, there's former TCU head coach Gary Patterson, now the defensive coordinator at USC. He said hi, Craig.
Oh, yeah, I bet he did.
I actually went up to him afterwards, and I am not going to have him on live when you're on the show, but I will probably record something with him so you won't have to be a part of that.
I mean, I don't care to be.
I know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I reached out to their media relations person and said, let's record this if he's available.
So let's go back. So back in the heat of the Baylor TCU rivalry, back before like there were scandals and all this other crap that ruined that, and deservedly so. But there was a lot of fun that was being had between those two, but it got to be a very heated rivalry very quickly when they're vying for the Big 12 championship. And that point, trying to just get to a 14 playoff, and they were both really, really stinking good. And you had the crazy 61-58 game and all that stuff. But yeah, Patterson didn't like Briles. Briles didn't like Patterson. It got very testy. And I was in the middle of it, and I used to cover Baylor like a glove back then. And I was all over Twitter all the time and was covering everything that was said or whatever. And I remember this randomly, Gary's wife followed me one day, which I just found kind of strange. And I brought it up on the air, and I was like, that's kind of strange. And then because there was no reason to, outside of I was just a Baylor guy. And it was even more strange because when I went to look at Gary Patterson's profile, wondering like, I wonder if he followed me, and I was blocked. So he had blocked me, but his wife had followed me. And so I don't know if he was going through like her account or what, but you remember, like, I'm not being paranoid about this. That was, he is and was, and that whole situation, everybody was, I don't know how you would even
it was incredibly tense.
Yes.
And also at times even like
personal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm getting blocked
both ways, by the way.
Yeah, both ways. So I'm getting blocked by him out of nowhere. I'd never said a word about this guy, negative or anything. I had no opinion on him until I found out I was blocked. And then his wife's randomly following me one day. And then I looked like 2 days later and she's not following me. And I was just like, okay, this is weird. And so I've always just played and made fun of that. And I'm sure it got back to him at some point. But that's okay.
When he came to help analyst work with Aranda, a lot of the funny part initially was, first of all, that wasn't always like, oh my, it was how many of us has he blocked? Will he unblock?
Oh, it was a total joke about
Yeah.
how many he had blocked dozens of Baylor fans back then. Dozens of just even, and people like me who wasn't even a fan. I'm just a media guy covering them, and I got blocked. And it was like, not based on it. It wasn't like, hey, Gary, you suck. It was just, I existed on Twitter.
You
and
were
was related,
attached to a program.
was related to the Art Browse Bears, and so just anybody affiliated was getting blocked. So I just always thought that was corny, and I said as much. And I'm sure that message got back at some point, but that's fine.
Well,
I don't care either way.
I will record it so you won't have to be a part of it. Real quickly, Rez, put that one, and Dion Imati's about to join us. That picture again, Gary Patterson, multi-time speed skating champion, Chad Hedrick out of Houston. There's Von Miller, who joined our show. Then you have Zach Martin. Brad Sham's the one between those two. Zach Martin will be a Hall of Famer from the Cowboys. Clint Dempsey was on 3 World Cup teams for the United States out of Nacogdoches, Texas, Greg, your birthplace. Kathy McMichael, Steve McMichael's wife, he passed away, of course, eventually after his health battles. And Charmaine James, like a 10 or 12-time world champion barrel racer. Those were the class. It was a very good event on Saturday evening.
Yeah, you won't hear me say anything bad about Gary Patterson as far as being Hall of Fame worthy and a great football coach. The personality didn't jive with me and the tough guy act, but definitely deserving of that honor. And so are all those others that you mentioned. And rest in peace to see Mongo McMichael.
Yeah.
Was a really entertaining personality and a great football player for Texas and the Bears. And glad his wife could be there.
Yeah, she was very emotional, as you could have mentioned. She did tell him when she knew he was about to go, it gave him the heads up he was going to be inducted. We're now joined by Dion Imati, Oklahoma State, former safety, also now a part of the Oklahoma State sideline analyst and radio crew. He joins us on 365 Sports. Dion, thanks for your time. New coach, a completely renovated roster, weapons left and right. What was it like during spring and also to wrap it up over the weekend?
Man, it was pretty good. I mean, as you can imagine, some changes in the program, and it was fun to kind of go out to a couple of practices and witness it and witness the coaching staff and how they kind of ingratiated themselves into Stillwater and the Cowboy culture. I mean, Eric Morse is a phenomenal individual. I got a chance to meet him a couple of times, and I just love how they've 100% bought in to the Cowboy culture and Stillwater. I mean, we had the OSU football alumni golf tournament Friday before the spring game, and you saw all the coaches out there, not just meeting all the former players, but also playing a round of golf with all of us, and finding ways to bring us back to the during the whole spring football calendar and practices. It was open to all the former players if they wanted to come out and check out practice and everything. And a lot of us did, some of the greats like, Terry Miller and Clint Shelf and just a number of guys going out to practice and just checking it out. So he's really made it, a home for himself, and the coaching staff's really, found good ways to, be a part of not just the program, but, the city of Stillwater and Oklahoma as a whole. So it seems like things are looking up over there for the Cowboys.
So, Dion, it's not like Oklahoma State's been on this 10-year run of being bad. I mean, they were playing for Big 12 titles just a handful of years ago, and they've been a very proud program. But you kind of mentioned just with the players, the ex-players getting involved. Did it kind of jive with the on the field, that the off the field also just maybe wasn't that great? Like, how did you feel just kind of watching things the way they were developing the past couple seasons?
I mean, as you can, as we all know, with the NIL era coming into college football, things kind of shook up and we're a little different. And, I think Oklahoma State had found a recipe for success for themselves. And when things kind of shook up and changed, it took a little bit to get adjusted to that. And, some things kind of, didn't help, and other things, we tried to, jump on board, and some things are, it's different. Kids these days and age they're a little different from when I was playing, or, even, 3 years ago. Like the game has changed. And so right now, the Oklahoma State staff and athletic department is doing a good job of coming around and making those adjustments. So it's going to be interesting. But I mean, as far as the kids and the players, at the program, we have a thing, like I've mentioned it a couple of times already, called cowboy culture. And it takes, a year or two, back in the day to kind of learn what that was and kind of, buy in and try to adjust and become one of those individuals that, can help the program. And now in this day and age of college football, it can't be that. You have to jump on ASAP. You kind of have to go, as soon as you touch the grass and touch the turf, you got to be ready to go, and you got to be able to adopt that culture and where you are ASAP. So I think it's taken the players a little bit of adjustment as well to kind of like come into a program and immediately buy in and get adjusted to that circumstance and be able to produce. I mean, some guys are mature enough to do it faster than others, and you just have to be able to find those guys and make sure they're right for your program.
So I've said a few times this offseason that I think Drew Mestemaker as Oklahoma State quarterback is maybe the biggest glow up at any position, not just quarterback, but any position in the entire country. Now, I'm sure there's other examples of guys who are raising their game at like safety at Utah or something like that. But would you go along with that sentiment? All due respect to the last couple of years, but I mean, this is a kid who's got a really nice skill set and could be a huge glow up at that spot for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect to the quarterbacks in the past, I mean, I think that they were put in a situation where it was just going to be hard to succeed. And I think with, the things that were going on within the program and not allowing those kids that opportunity to kind of learn and grow, it's like, just like in the NFL, when you're a rookie, you have an opportunity to prove yourself and you got to go now. So in the situation that they were pressed into, it was kind of hard to kind of feel your way out and take those bumps and lumps. And people didn't really give you, that saving grace. That they didn't give you that time. It was like, hey, we need you to play and perform now. I think with the situation of Drew Mestemaker, he's been in a situation back in North Texas where he had an opportunity to learn and grow and be with a great coaching staff, which, they came with him and kind of, take those lumps on that stage. And so now he's kind of one of those proven products that we were truly excited to, be the one to buy for his talents and get him to come to Stillwater. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, September 5th and, going forward with the rest of the season and see what the product is. But right now, everybody's been impressed in spring camp.
So a lot of attention on Morris, a lot of attention on the offense. You play defense. Is that a work in progress, or what are your thoughts about, at least from what you saw during the spring?
I was really impressed with some of the things that I saw during the spring. Defensive coordinator Coach Cassidy has come in and he has a scheme that I think the players are going to be able to, grasp early. And that's the thing in this day and age of football, guys. Before, college football was all about the X's, the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. I think that wholeheartedly. I mean, we've had coaches that have turned this situation into and amplified things, but at the end of the day, at this level, it's all about having the dogs to be able to go out there and perform. In this situation right now, I mean, we've stumbled upon a situation where we need easier defenses, simpler offenses for these players who come in on a 1 year or 2 year basis to grasp, go and run with it. And I think that's going to be the situation that you're finding all these coaching staffs to be in. Finding ways to simplify defenses, finding ways to simplify offenses where these guys can learn them fast and be out there not thinking, just going and playing. I think the defense coordinator, Coach Cassidy, is one of those individuals that can simplify things for players and just let dogs be dogs and go out there and play.
So Eric Morris got pretty much everybody he wanted to bring, starting with Mestemaker, but then Caleb Hawkins, he's back in the state of Oklahoma, Wyatt Young, super prolific receiver, and the list goes on and on. Just anybody from the new contingent that jumped off to you this spring that you're excited to see more of?
Well, you guys know I'm a defensive back at heart, but so it pains me to kind of say this, but wide receiver room is looking really nice, guys. It's looking really nice. And Chris Barnes is an individual who's performed very well in the spring, and an individual that showed out in that spring game on Saturday. I mean, he kind of has that. Me and Robert Allen joked about it a little bit after the game, where he has that Tyreek Hill build to him, and especially lower body wise, and he can get up and go, and he creates separation. So I'm really excited to see what the coaching staff and what Coach Morris decides to do with those players. I mean, got Bulwick as well on the outside, so and Coleman. So it's a number of talented individuals at the wide receiver position that they can do a lot of things with. It's going to be very interesting to see how they can kind of simplify the game plan, but also find ways to get the ball in these players' hands.
I saw that fade pattern down the sideline, and that was separation, nasty. Baby. The Tyreek Hill comparison, because maybe the body size and the separation and the speed was. I saw that throughout with a lot of different people talking about it as well as we brought up. I saw 19 of the 22 on the depth chart, at least from what I'm looking at from a place that keeps up with it on offense, are different transfers. 16 of 22 on defense. That's a lot more than I thought. And hell, like everybody on special teams as well. Do you even know half these guys?
Trust me, man. I got a roster on me left. Every time I go to practice, I mean, my guy Sean McGuire is one of the guys over there that I talk to, and Clevin Clintworth, the communications guys, and so they have rosters left and right. And every day, I feel like I have to go pick up a new roster, but I'm trying. I'm learning. You boys got to study a little bit, but there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new numbers, and a lot of new names. So we're trying to figure it all out. I mean, even with the coaches, I mean that one's even hard. So yeah, we're trying to figure it all out. But don't worry. By September 5th, hopefully I got it all down.
Any thoughts on Eric Morris wanting the shirtless section to put their shirts back on? I saw where it's such a silly little thing. I get where he's coming from. I get the people that just want to have fun, but it's nice when that's like the biggest problem you have, is what I'm getting at, man, compared to where it's been a lot more serious. Like, where's the program going? Where's this? It's like nice to be just only have to worry about little small things like that. Is it not?
It very is. It is nice to have to worry about the small things like that. And I see his point. I mean, back in the day, Oklahoma State was known for running up the score and playing tough, hard nosed football and putting up big numbers. And then last year with the season that we had, we were known for Section 230 to the no shirty one, So I mean, I think he's just echoing the sentiments that we want to be known for the product on the field instead of some of the gimmicks in the stands. I mean, college football is all about tradition though, and having fun and the pageantry of it all. So I don't know if it's going to go away or not. Hopefully though, we're making more noise on the field and impressing the eyes that be with the play on football instead of some of the antics in the stands.
It went viral last year when they started to do that. And then at the end of the year, I was watching a Baylor game against somebody and they started doing it, which is kind of the way things are. But yeah, that's usually like putting bags over your head.
The point is the good teams were not doing it.
Yeah, no.
Baylor was not good.
And Oklahoma State fans were kind of in disagreement if they wanted it to continue or not. Doesn't matter. It's Eric Morris's program.
And that's the thing. I mean, back in the day, we were known for Coach Gundy's was the first coach that was like dancing in the locker room with us. And so we got known for that, but that was celebrating victories and, our coaching staff, getting down with us and having some fun. So I think we want to be known for the celebration after the game, after we put up more points than the opponent, then, doing things during the game to kind of distract us from some of the rough football that we saw last year.
All right. You now are the sideline analyst for Oklahoma State Radio. You mentioned Robert Allen has been doing that for a long, long time. You guys are obviously pretty close. What does that mean to you and the excitement level on your end?
Oh, man, I can't, put into words how excited I am and how much it means to me to kind of be, pass the torch from Robert Allen to kind of be in this position. since I finished playing football, you know, in 2014, I always wanted to find a way to kind of give back to the sport and inspire, you know, young players like myself that, you know, needed the recognition, needed to know that they were doing a good job. And, you know, we have the opportunities as, you know, media members to do that. And I wanted that opportunity to kind of like let those kids know, like the kids that aren't seen on the field, like not the quarterback who gets his name in the paper every day, not the running back who's scoring touchdowns left and right, not that, you know, starting safety who's making tackles and getting his name called by the PA address announcer every other play. I wanted to talk about the guys who made the big block. I want to talk about the guys who, you know, picked up that, you know, second level defender and allowed that linebacker to kind of get loose and make that tackle. I want to talk about those little guys, and I feel like I've been given an opportunity here, and I just don't want to squander it, especially after Robert Allen's done such a good job to make this, you know, this radio crew and that position so highly thought of. So I'm excited. I'm honored. It's something that I've wanted for a long time, and I just hope I do a good job with it.
Well, congratulations, man. We know Robert too. Congratulations on that opportunity. We'll see you very soon, and thanks for joining us again on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Anytime, just hit me up.
I will. We will. Dion Imati, again, with Oklahoma State, former safety, and now taking over for Robert Allen, who has done that forever. And now Dion will be manning the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to him. Great to have him on, and look forward to talking to him again down the line. But it's good to have some fresh air in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and just a new feel surrounding that program. They were due for it, and hadn't been long since they were in the spotlight. But I think it was a long couple years out of it and felt like a lot longer than a couple of years. So I think they can bounce back real quick. I've seen some go pretty far with their Eric Morris expectations. I think they're going to be much, much better. I don't know that I would go so far as to say he's like the next great coach in the Big 12 and go that far with it, but I've seen some that have like gone pretty far. I've seen him compared to Cignetti. I'll put it that way. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, a national title in 2 years. Like, I don't think that's the case, but I think he's really good. And I think if you go back to when this whole process started, I've been very high on him and all the guys that he brought with him to North Texas. I mean, he got all the guys that he wanted basically to come along with him. So I think they'll be much improved and right in the mix this year to just make some noise and win some games that they weren't capable of winning the last couple seasons.
All right, let's do a couple of things. Just a couple of stories that probably otherwise get like overlooked, and then the week goes on. Speaking of Oklahoma State, their women's basketball program, they got a commitment from Audie Crooks from Iowa State, averaging 26 points and 8 rebounds per game. This is a big deal for Coach Hoyt. They've had several players who have now committed. Just 3 weeks ago, they had the number 7 seeded team now and lost 9 of 10 starters from a number 7 NCAA tournament team. Now they are the number 1 ranked transfer portal class, at least at this particular time.
Yeah, she's done a good job. There was an exodus on their roster, and I seem to recall coming across a conversation or two from Oklahoma State fans and like just women's basketball fans wondering if she was about to leave because her roster was turning over the way that it was and thought that maybe she was going to take one of these open jobs. But no, I think she was just clearing the way to bring new people in, and that's what they're doing right now. So, yeah, they're in a good spot. Audie Crooks staying in the conference. I know that's not a fun thing for Iowa State fans to see, and they invested a lot in her and gave her a lot of love, and now it's one thing to go off to like Michigan or something, and maybe you run into each other in the tournament or in the preseason, depending on the schedules, but to just stay in the conference it's not fun as an Iowa State fan. So, she's a handful. I mean, she's a big girl, and that is imposing and tough matchup for a lot of teams. But she took Iowa State to a pretty good point. We'll see if she can take Oklahoma State a bit farther, or if this is a big difference maker for them. But on paper, you can see why they're excited about it.
D1, it's that time to start looking ahead. The baseball national championships, the regionals, super regionals, and eventually Omaha. Here's the top 25. From left to right, each column, UCLA remains number 1. Horns right there. They've had Texas A&M won a couple of games against them. A&M's on a heater. They're at 7. You also see West Virginia 12. There's OU. And then Kansas at number, 16. among others, all the way down to Arizona State at 25.
Any questions or thoughts?
No, those are most of the teams. LSU has been an absolute disaster.
Yeah, I read a lot about
Jay
them.
Johnson, he admitted he had just had a terrible roster that he built. He blamed it on himself, not the players, the way they built it. But those have been USC, which is down at 23. They were early on like unbeaten, and they're a part of the mix. But yeah, that's pretty much. There's one or two that might be a little bit overmodulated.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't feel comfortable saying anybody was like overrated here or anything. I don't know college baseball well enough to get into the weeds on the rankings, but yeah, I think UCLA at number one. What a sports year they're having. I mean, beyond the football side of things, which they're attempting to improve upon now with the new head coaching hire, but really, really good year for UCLA athletics so far. I don't know where they are in like the
Director's Cup.
I always still think Sears Cup, but I think that they'd probably be in pretty good shape as far as that goes. And yeah, it's a nice mix of teams. It's not dominated by the SEC at the top. Like college baseball definitely felt the last few years like it was shifting in a very strong direction for the SEC, and they very well may still have like the national champion and the national championship matchup and all that. But there are teams like the Bruins or Oregon State, who's been a mainstay for a while now, and the Tar Heels, among others, that are making things interesting. But yeah, the LSU thing. Well, I'll say first on the Big 12, I don't know that people would have predicted it would be like West Virginia and Kansas and those teams necessarily at the top. I think that's been maybe not each one of those specifically, but like the combination of, I think, is a surprise that's sort of who's on the top of the league right now. So curious to see if that stays as is or if there's some more shifting to go on. But that's great for the Mountaineers to be leading the way, and also really nice for Kansas. Arizona State, I expect them to be like in the baseball. I expect them to be good at baseball. So
Kansas is 2 games up on West Virginia, then Arizona State, UCF a game back of that, and then TCU, who just won 2 out of 3 at Baylor, is at 10-8 ahead of a chunk. K-State, Utah, Baylor, and BYU.
Yeah, TCU looked like they were dead to rights this weekend against Baylor, and then Baylor goes from winning that first game and putting a lot of pressure on the Frogs to slip and letting the second game.
TCU, that's what happens with Baylor.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't beat them in anything, but they let game 2 slip away, and then TCU won game 3 pretty handily. So the Frogs actually end up winning the series when on Friday night it looked like, was it Friday or Saturday night, whichever it was, they're like, oh, Baylor take that opening game. Oh, wow. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh, well, never mind. But the Jay Johnson thing, he absolutely called out his players. He just didn't call them out by name, but he very much called out his players and said, we recruited the wrong guys in some spots. And it's up to those guys, I guess, to figure out who he was talking about. But yeah, he didn't, what was it, after the A&M series is when he went off. And I mean, he said what he said. He put the onus on himself and said it will never happen again. Their construction or their misconstruction of the roster, but that's what he's pointing to, and just not the type of quality at bats that LSU typically has. That's sort of their trademark. Just guys who can hit home runs, but not all of the in between kind of stuff that you need. So yeah, they're in a bad spot right now, and that's as much as things seem to be going LSU's way. Just the coaches and like they were the talk of this offseason with Lane Kiffin and all this stuff. You thought they'd roll into baseball and like be like, this is our time. Like football's our time too, but like baseball's really our time, and it is not their time. It is a different type of baseball season for LSU, and yeah, it's making some people uncomfortable.
All right, and finally, we didn't mention this last week, but Iowa State, they have dropped the sport, but they did add women's wrestling, which was, again, otherwise 99% of the time would not be on our radar, but I wanted to clear out some of what we had. They added women's wrestling. Dan Gable, one of the greatest wrestling coaches of all time, even made a nice comment. Of course, we've had Jamie Pollard on, and so Iowa State bringing in women's wrestling.
Well, they had to do something to make up for shuttering the gymnastics problematic program that apparently was, to the point they felt the need to just pivot away from it entirely after a rough few years. So you needed another sport on the women's side of things, and they could have gone, I guess, multiple different directions. Maybe next time we talk to Jamie Pollard, we kick the tires on what his ideas were. I mean, A&T was right there with that being a burgeoning, now NCAA certified sport. So it wouldn't have been surprising to see them go that direction. And I don't know what else they maybe had there in the mix. But, women's wrestling, a lot of wrestling love in that part of the country especially. So I can see where that made some sense, and that'll be exciting for some Iowa wrestlers and Iowa wrestling fans out there.
All right. We have right now, we get to, again, Rez and Garrett, also Andrew, who's not here today, but still doing work at home. Here is the wheel with what we do the last few minutes of the Smoke Show in 365 Sports.
What's the best thing that America invented besides football?
Ooh.
I am trying to think of what's just like an outright American invention. There's not one that like pops off the top of my head. I mean, did we invent forms of entertainment? Because we are definitely the entertainment capital of the world.
I'm going to the chat room on this one. You guys help us out.
I feel like there's so many different directions to go here, but I'm not sure how accurate some of them are. So the best thing that America invented besides football, baseball, college football. That's the second best thing they've invented besides football.
Visser, Playboy magazine.
I mean, it had its time in the sun. I may or may not have been a subscriber in the early 2000s.
Great stories inside that magazine.
That's the joke, is that there actually were great stories.
No,
that's the whole joke, is that there actually were.
Yeah, barbecue is another one.
Barbecue, yeah. I mean, there's 1,000 different ways you can go here.
Didn't Ford invent the vehicle? Was that the
motor, or
back in the day?
Motor T or whatever it's called. Yeah, so automobiles, fried foods, barbecue, football, baseball. Was basketball Naismith a Canadian?
No, it was invented in Kansas. That's why they have.
Okay, I want to make sure on that. There's not like some caveat that it was like
I know
technically invented in Toronto or something. Basketball. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to answer this, but I can't just settle on just one, because we're just that great of a country.
What would you say? The chat, you have responded. We appreciate you. I guess I don't have anything that just jumped out. I don't know who invented ice cream, but that's one of my favorites. And let's go to now.
Okay, here we go. I just typed in greatest American inventions. The light bulb.
Whoa,
that's a good
how
one.
About that?
The airplane, the telephone.
That's damn good.
I'm pretty sure air conditioning.
Alexander Graham Bell. Right?
So all Post-it notes, the cotton gin, the assembly line, the internet.
Was it really?
We
I
kick
didn't know
ass,
that.
man. We kick ass.
We do. We dominate. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's go to the quizzes and see if we can keep what has been a tremendous run, almost like long-term run. Here we go. On this day in 1912, the oldest active stadium in Major League Baseball officially opened its doors, which iconic venue is celebrating its anniversary today. Let's see. Dodger Stadium would not be the answer, because they used to be in New York. All right.
Right.
I'm not sure about Wrigley Field. That does sound to me like that could be it. Yankee Stadium.
It's like the third Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, it's not the original. And then Fenway Park, of course, I don't know how. I'm sure that's back when they screwed up and traded Babe Ruth. I don't know that. I want to say Wrigley Field, Craig, but I don't have one that just I know it can't be Dodger Stadium.
Okay, well, you're saying it can't be Dodger Stadium. I'm saying it can't be,
Yankee Stadium.
1912. Yeah, I don't think it can be Yankee Stadium
Well, because
either.
they've rebuilt it. They have not rebuilt Wrigley, they've renovated it.
So you think it's Wrigley? Let's just go with Wrigley.
Let's
just go with Wrigley. We don't know. So there you go. Fenway Park.
Way to go, Smokey, you idiot. Fenway Park officially opened in April of 1912. That was, of course, on this date, with the Red Sox defeating the New York Highlanders. Later, the Yankees' 7-6 historic opening was actually overshadowed at the time by the sinking of the Titanic, which also happened just 5 days earlier. Boston's mayor at the time, John Fitzgerald, the grandfather of JFK threw out the first pitch. I love those old newspaper headlines, and I love that look.
Yeah, I think it's there's some cool nostalgia with that. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, we could reduce a couple of those down, but didn't know in the last one. So yeah, I didn't realize today 420, man, 420 today.
Whoo!
So April 20th, 1912, oldest ballpark in MLB. So yeah, celebrating over 100 years, another up to like what 2012, like 114-year anniversary, I guess, is what they're celebrating today. So,
Wrigley was 2 years later.
113th.
2 years later,
So,
almost to the date. 2 years later.
Okay, cool. You got us there, Andrew. Got us there with Fenway Park.
Yeah, I hope you don't get any medicine to make yourself feel better for a couple more hours. All right, now to the next one. Oh, Craig, I'm leaving. I'll read it. You answer it. 2014, Brock Lesnar shocked the world at WrestleMania 30, ending the most legendary undefeated streak in wrestling history. Which iconic superstar he defeated? I think I know this one, but I'm not going to get involved in this.
No, go ahead. I mean, I know what the answer is. So what do you think it is?
Cena?
No, it's The Undertaker. The Undertaker had the great WrestleMania unbeaten streak, and then they had Brock beat him for shock value, and then had Roman beat him not long after, and it just wasted like one of the coolest stories that had been 20 plus years unintentionally in the beginning. Like it just at some point years in, they go, man, did you realize that Taker's like 7-0 at WrestleMania? Like, oh, really? And then they just ran with it, and it became like this whole thing, and then they just threw it all away for shock value. And they do that sometimes. They did that last year, and it brought the whole business down, and it's still not quite where it was a year ago. They just did WrestleMania this weekend, and another big moment involving Brock Lesnar apparently retiring in the ring. But we'll see. It's pro wrestling, so you never know. Like if tonight I'm going to go home and turn on Raw, and then here's Brock Lesnar, and it was all just to set up another match. But it seemed like it was genuine. I've got a smoke break out and actually on the channel where I talk about this. So for any wrestling fans or any people interested, like I'm wondering, did I get worked? Because I think he actually retired. I think that was real. And I don't get worked very often.
Is this a smoke break that's new or
it's out right now?
All right.
It's out right now. It came out
channel
today. So you can go check the smoke break. And I'm asking the question, did I get worked? And maybe if you paid attention, maybe you did too, or maybe you see through it. But I think he legit retired, but we will see. But yeah, this was the Undertaker.
All right. So there we go. Undertaker did this right here, right here.
Yeah, he
raised
did
out
the
of the
raise up.
casket. Okay. The last poll question. What is your favorite Brock Lesnar WWE moment? I didn't even answer this because my answer would have been, I don't know.
No, but I'm glad Andrew's got a little wrestling theme going. It's nice to have that every once in a while, and I've enjoyed kind of talking a little bit about that on some of those smoke breaks. I'll be mostly college football on those things when the news warrants it, or I've just got a big opinion on something. But it is kind of nice every once in a while to do something different. So, the ring collapse versus Big Show was a very cool moment. That was just a cool setup that they did with that. So that's a good winner right there. Suplex City, ending Taker streak, and youngest WWE champ. Ending Taker, that was shocking. That was like one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. And this past weekend, when he put his gloves and his boots in the middle of the ring, signifying that he was retiring, that's the most shocked I've been in a really long time as well. So thanks, Brock, for keeping this somewhat unpredictable sometimes.
There you go. By the way, is that it, right? That's the last one? One more. Which playoffs have you glued to your screen? Well, the answer for me is none of them. But I'm not watching much of the NBA. I know there's been some surprises. But I watched, was it Minnesota jumped all into Dallas's business last night. And they're not favored to win that series. But the Stars have a weird streak and trend of not winning game one of a playoff series. They did last year. But I would say of the two, I watched the NHL far more than the NBA.
Go Stars, but I'm not as into the NBA probably as I would be hockey if I had to choose one or the other. But I think the NBA has become a league where the playoffs are really interesting. The play-in has become interesting. Free agency is obviously like the most popular thing they do. It's just that the regular season's kind of hit or miss depending on what kind of a fan you are.
Why they're thinking about lowering the games.
But they've never been more popular. They've never made more money. They've never had better TV ratings. Like, their TV deal is through the roof, and they're getting great ratings. So I think there's a lot of really fun superstars. I'll say both. I have 2 TVs running. I may not be like all over every moment of every side of this, but if there's some intriguing NBA matchups, I'll watch it. If there's some intriguing NHL matchups, I'll watch it. I'm a sports fan, so I'll check out both. I'll be in the minority there.
Retired stockbroker, tell the Dragon hello as I watched some of that wrestling stuff last night with the ladders in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, that was the interesting thing was so ESPN, as you may or may not know, they signed this new deal with WWE where they carry all of their big events now, and so you have to have ESPN Unlimited, but because that's $30 a month, some people like myself are like, no. Like, I'm sorry, but as much of a fan as I am, I'm not paying. Like, that's what the old pay-per-views in the 90s cost. Once a month, it would be $30.
Yep.
Now they're trying to get back to that after having it on Peacock for less than 10 all these years. And WWE Network before that, it was like $10.99 or $12.99 at most. And now they're trying to go back to full pay-per-view pricing, but you get all of ESPN Unlimited. Well, I don't want all the rest of it. So what they did do, though, that was great, I thought, on ESPN's part, was they put the first hour of the event for free on main ESPN Saturday and Sunday to just get people tuned in and get them kind of excited. And the Brock Lesnar thing I talked about was on free TV. It was on ESPN last night. So, and then the ladder match came right after that. And that was good for what it was worth too. So I'm curious to see their TV ratings for that little 1 hour preview both those nights. I would think they probably got a pretty good audience for that. And I think that was smart marketing, because had they not done that, I don't think a lot of people were like, boy, let me get ESPN Unlimited and pay $30 for this one show or 2 shows. But by kind of whetting the appetite, I think they probably got some people go, all right, I got to see the rest of the night. Let me go jump on this and I'll cancel it later. I wasn't one of those, but I did think it was smart marketing.
Thanks to Clarence Banks from earlier today with a super chat when we had John Kurtz on to talk Big 12 and also Kansas State. KSU is back, baby. Thank you very much, Clarence Banks, for the super chat much earlier in the show. Former Baylor basketball player Jake Lindsey has been hired as the assistant GM as they've been cleaning house and making some moves with that staff as we close it out. Oh, Paxton wanted to know where marijuana was born. And the answer is it was born in Central Asia some 12,000 years ago.
Well, you can celebrate anyways, Paxton. So feel free. If
but
that's
you
your
have
thing.
it in America, right?
But we have it. We just didn't invent that. We invented a lot of other cool stuff, like the air conditioning I'm going to go enjoy here in a little bit, and a lot of the TV I'm going to watch later on.
Yeah, okay. All right, Rez, great job, sir. Thank you very much to Garrett and also to Andrew Valade, our sponsors. Thank you to everybody that watches us or how you consume what we do. We're back tomorrow at 3 for Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. This is week 2, as we have done now, the Smoke Break on 365 Sports. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.